We are live, right on time, as predictable as always.
Mm-hmm.
No chaos here.
Psych.
Stable, steady, reliable. The chaos happens in the content, I think, and the panelists.
Mm-hmm.
So we have structure, order, and chaos. It's like a container for chaos. And speaking of chaos, you have an update on some possibly good chaos that either came into your life or that you embraced or possibly sought out.
In this case, it initiated itself. I did not seek it out.
Ah, like true chaos.
Yes, yes. So you can definitely choose to put yourself in a more chaotic environment and then just accept whatever comes. But in this case, it didn't really require me to do anything additional. So um, uh, I talked about the situation in that game that I had joined, to mentor
Where
that.
everything went off the rails, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah, to mentor that kid Joe Monkey, as his username. Um, because if I just call him Joe, it might sound confusing if I'm also Joe. So, but um, uh, the
It
situation
shouldn't. It's
deteriorated.
like pronouns. People know you're not talking about yourself.
I still don't want to confuse people. So,
Okay.
plus I call him that anyway. So,
Yeah, it's a cool name. We can go with Joe Monkey.
yeah, it definitely it's very brandable, kind of like Gen X Jeff, right?
Yeah,
Um, and so
hopefully.
uh, uh, I basically waited for a response from the government about it. I filed a ticket with them, and it basically sort of said, "Hey, I think I told you this much already, right? Like, okay, I'm willing to try and sort of put myself in your shoes, see things your way,
No, I didn't know
and
that part. I heard that you
okay,
were just kind of waiting for them to decide what they were going to do.
yeah." So I had filed a ticket, and that's where I
Oh,
was waiting. So I did that Sunday morning. So that was uh, the day that it happened when I did the stream with you, and I'm still like totally surprised by this. And um, but in the ticket, I said, "Hey, trying to see things your way. Here's what I have surmised, um, and um, and here are some remedial steps I'm willing to say that I'll do. And I await your feedback as well as feedback from the aggrieved person." And uh, basically, I just 5 days went by, and I did not get any real response from the government, even though they were aware of it. Um, I know that they were aware of it because I saw screenshots by folks saying like, "Oh, this person's supposed to deal with that," and then the person referenced there is like, "No, this person's supposed to deal with that." They kept just trying to kick it to somebody else. Nobody wanted to take ownership of the situation, and basically that went on for 5 days. There was one person who was polite enough to reply, but he was somebody who had no real authority. He basically said, "Hey, I like your proposal. I think it makes sense, but I'm not a person with the actual authority on this." That was the essence of what he said. Like on the first day and then on the fifth day. And when I got basically like a differently worded version of the same reply from him, that's when I said, okay, if they really took it seriously, like they want me to believe, they would have responded by now. If they cared much about like what happened to that other player, at least that was sort of the framing of why it all happened. Um, Surely they would have. I made it easy for them. I gave them an opportunity to just say, hey, let's do a remedial process with this person, and it's not clear to me that they even talked to this person and attempted to do that, in their role as the government here. So I'm like, okay, clearly this is not a priority for them. They don't take it that seriously. So there's no point in trying to do this. I closed my ticket. I wrote as much in the reason for closing it, and um, and that was it. So that was yesterday. So today makes 6 days since it happened, and the same day, I get a message from actually a potential business partner that I was talking about a business idea with them
in the game or in real
in,
life?
in the game, in the game. Because remember, we're doing investing. So
Yeah.
even though it's all game businesses, uh, as my situation has sort of shown, there are actual risks. So there's risk to manage here. Um, and we were talking about plans to open a casino where we can host poker events inside the game, right? So a game in a game. And but one of them decides to just sort of speak up and ask, and they say, "Hey, Joe, I want to know what happened with you in that country." because they're aware that something went on with me, but they don't know really the specifics of it. So I tell them the story. And they're like, "Oh, okay," and they're still okay with moving forward. And then, so that was odd. So, I realize people are starting to notice that like I'm not around and something happened. Um, and then somebody else found out about it. I did not get acquainted with this person at all before, but somebody else in the Discord server of this nation pinged me. This is why I know. And they said, "I stand with Mr. Accord." And they just said that in the public channel. It was actually the same public channel where I got accused by the aggrieved party. Um, and okay, I'm like, huh, this is interesting. I'm thinking about what to do, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to reply. I'm just going to do a thumbs up reply and just let that be that, right? I'm going to let this develop, right? Essentially, I'm going to embrace the chaos, right? Like I didn't expect this, and it's like, I don't need to have an active role in this. I can just see if people want to speak up, what they can do, and the most I can do is just acknowledge that I saw it and that I approve of it. Um, so that's what I did. I didn't message this person directly to just thank them. Basically, they end up telling me about the country in their game, and they seem to think that like their interpretation of the events is that it's silly in their country. If you were stuck on the rail and AFK and blocking it, in their country, it would be okay to kill that person outright to get them out of the way. So the fact that I did not kill them outright and not instead just watch something kill them without even actually endeavoring to do it myself, to them, they thought it was crazy that I would experience the consequences that I did over that.
I told you you were in a dysfunctional country.
Yeah, and so they invited me to go there. And actually, before I got on here, I wrapped up about half an hour ago. I was doing a stream touring that country, and so they and a couple other players from that nation showed me around their main city. They showed me a lot of sites. They showed me their war memorial. They showed me their business center. They showed me their constitutional hall. They showed me their Supreme Court. It's about as developed of a society as the one I was in. Not all of them are this developed. Um, and So that was pretty neat, and I had a good time with that. But like about 20 minutes in or so, um, I suddenly see that my citizen roles in thing, it says because I have like auto accept on, so if I get invited to a group, it will automatically do that in the game.
Oh,
And I see that I am added back to the citizen groups for this country, and I'm like, somebody's putting me back in. I'm like, what is going on here? And like I'm like, this is happening in stream, so I was like, wait, what? And in fact, it was actually this happens right as the person who originally did the "I stand with Mr. Accord" remark showed up and joined the tour party with me. So like right after they show up, this happens. Um, and yeah, so that's happening, and I'm trying to think like, what is going on here? And then it occurs to me, wait a minute, did my friend Joe Monkey do this? Because he technically always had the ability to assign it back to me. Um, Obviously, he did not go and
does he
proceed and
have
do that.
power? Is he a noble or anything?
Yeah, he is. So he got made a
Oh,
noble about a week after I did, and we were on the same team of nobles in the same locality. Um, and so he was basically had a front row seat to see sort of like not only what happened and how people reacted to it, but like some of the internal discussion about it afterward as well. So there was like he could see things with his own eyes, and he was, of course, I was keeping him updated about the situation with my ticket because since he and I worked on the game together, we were trying to think about like what's our long-term strategy going to be for all this. Um, and Earlier this morning, I got the feeling that like he kept wanting something more forceful to happen, and I wasn't doing that. Um, and so I asked him this morning, uh, like, I said, I get the feeling that you are confused by some of my response to everything. Is that correct? And he didn't answer that directly. He kind of uh, just sort of asked me another question, but related to the situation about like our office that we had down there, and then kind of just figuring out like what my plans were. Um, and he ended up asking like if I were to become a citizen again, would I become a dual citizen and own a house in the city, or would I own a house in the duchy where I was? It was the local area where I was a noble. Um, and I told him, well, I wouldn't do it in the capital city or in the duchy that's just outside of it that like functions as the suburb because uh, you know I've basically been shown that I can expect hostility from the people in the central government. So why be in the near the capital city, right? If I know that's where they're hanging out, um, like I don't expect that. Like I would, even if they agree to give my
Do you
citizenship
think
back.
there's a way to continue in that country despite the dysfunction? Is that what you're saying?
Um, well, I'm kind of hinting that like I don't think it would be that easy. So I could technically have my citizenship back and I could just sort of make a quick stop. But I'm basically saying like I would not function like I'm just a normal citizen walking freely around. I would be far more selective in making my appearances and be more like away on the frontiers and not as involved in things. And so that's what I told him. Like I didn't really have any intentions of sticking around there much. Um, and yeah, and I yeah, I told him like because yeah, I think it was another thing that surprised him. I said, the only reason I would change on this is if something in Pavia changed. But I said to him, it seems to me that most people are accepting of it, even if they know the details. And the reasons they do it could vary, but it doesn't really matter if they vary. The point is, are people accepting it or not? Um, and he said, okay, well, I'll try to help you out. So he decided he wanted to do something about it finally. Um, And I said, okay, but and my advice to him was just remember, if it takes a lot of convincing or pressuring, it probably isn't going to prove helpful. Um, and so that was a bit before the thing happened because I started streaming at 2:15, and that was like about about maybe 20 minutes before that. And um, you know, started streaming, and then we streamed like went on like another 20 minutes, and then I see my citizenship. It actually doesn't even occur to me that he's the one doing this. Well, it turns out that's what he did because I like as the stream went on like another maybe 40 minutes or so, I sort of clicked with me. I'm like, wait a minute, he probably just did this himself. It did not ask permission. I need to find out. Um, and and so I messaged him in our chat. I'm like, I got my citizenship back. Do you know how? And he sent me a screenshot of himself. I'm guessing posting in one of the internal channels. Um, um, saying I have granted Accord a citizenship, and he says this has been blown way out of proportion, and then he references the "I stand with Mr. Accord" thing that other person made, um, noting how like the likes it had gotten, the fact that it even exists, and is like clearly some people think that he was nice and they didn't want him gone, and so like this is, and he basically said this is BS, and um, um, I'm using my position to give him his citizenship back. So that was the screenshot he sent me showed it happening at 2:12. So that would have been like I guess that would have been right around the time that um, I got it in the game. I'm guessing he did it in Discord before he did it in the game. I actually have the footage of me like reacting to it because like I got a timestamp for it. Um, like seeing it just sort of pop up on my feed, and I don't even know that he's up to this. Um, so
Moose is provoking you in the chat.
so yeah, okay. He says I
So,
like Joe, but I don't care about his video game drama. Yeah, so
but
that was the interesting thing.
we're okay. Sounds good, Moose. Come back in like 5 or 10 minutes, and we want to talk about YouTube. Come up on panel if you can. I'll drop the link soon. Um, the part of this is a larger theme about chaos. It's to learn a larger point about people's relationship to chaos. So
Yeah,
At some point, you decided to just kind of roll with the chaos that was being spontaneously generated in the aftermath of this story.
Yeah, because I basically realized, you know what, I'm just gonna let this go. Because at this point, I know that I did nothing to provoke the situation further after the day that the stuff happened. I patiently waited. I tried to make it easy for them, and I said, if anything unusual is gonna happen at this point,
I told you
um,
that the day it happened.
yeah, and so now it just sort of seems like whatever is naturally going to occur is happening now, which I wasn't really
And in your
expecting anything.
favor.
More than likely, if anything else happens, it's not like it would get a whole lot worse for me at this point. But um, yeah,
So the best outcome is what? You have citizenship of this new country, which seems healthier. Joe Monkey is still on your side, so that relationship is still intact. You have some investment opportunities, and you can still maybe hang on to the periphery of this existing community and benefit from that.
maybe. I mean, I think the best outcome is whatever one helps Joe Monkey and I achieve our goal. So basically, if at the end of this we start with 1,000 diamonds, we get it to 100,000. Basically, we accomplish that using just same basic investing principles I use in real life, and Joe Monkey is able to absorb some of that and be, a more enlightened young man as a result. A successfully mentored young man. That, as I think, is the success. It could be a very windy and crooked road there, right? And maybe this is an example of that.
Yeah, I'm learning that from that video game. Like things are not often not straightforward. They're incremental. They're cumulative.
Yeah.
They take very unpredictable paths. And so this kind of segues into the topic that I've been wanting to talk about because this comes
Yeah.
out of conversations that have been happening with other people about
Hmm.
YouTube kind of stagnating or becoming stale. It's the same people, the same conversations, and not only my channel, it just kind of the panelverse in general. For a while, it looked like this medium was an alternative to existing entertainment options like Netflix and talk radio, and people were looking for something different, something new.
Hmm.
And has that crested? Has that reached its peak already? Like Twitter, there was a moment a couple of years ago for about 2 years where Twitter was the center of the universe, and anything and everything that was happening on Twitter. Provo, come up and talk to us.
Yeah.
What is going on? Is it a feature of the medium itself? Are people just getting tired of YouTube? Is the content not fresh, or is it individual Oh, well, I want feedback, but it's not just me because I'm hearing this from other people too, and I'm kind of zooming out, big picture. Well, come and tell me about it because my content hasn't changed. So if they're tired of the content, then that. But it's again, it's not just me. I'm hearing similar stories about the panelverse channels in general. That it's the same people in the same looping conversations. I do feel like I have said everything I have to say, and I've come to the end of my like. I don't really have a lot new to say other than right, yeah, that it's not. And so the point I was trying to make about Joe's story is it's a different type of content.
Well, it's one where chaos is helpful, right? Like the
Yeah,
chaos creates inevitable novelty,
yeah,
and
the novelty, but you can't fake novelty. It has to happen organically. Like the whatever chaos is going to break up this logjam, it's nothing I can manufacture. And so things like video game drama, internet drama from other sources, like you're having in this game, is that fresh content or is that more of the same? Like, or is this just a projection? Like, is it me? I think it's a combination of both. I think something did happen, kind of with YouTube as a medium. I felt like a shift in the multiverse, but at the same time, I think internally I've reached some walls or some limitations within myself that I may be reading into YouTube or the panelverse too. So I think it's a combination of both. I think I'm seeing some of my own stuff in what's happening in YouTube, but I think separate from that, there is a shift in what's happening in YouTube itself. Like people
Hmm.
are, it's patterns. Like the people have exhausted the existing patterns. They've taken them as far as they can. They've noticed them. They've processed them. They've gotten all the entertainment value they can out of them and the educational value. And the patterns have become predictable
Hmm. Well,
outside of my own personal patterns. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is there a future in YouTube?
well, I can say,
But Provo is saying yes, there is if you find the right content. I know Provo does tarot cards. That's going to get old after a while too. He does. I don't really know what he does. Yes, this. Thank you, Provo. You're the perfect here. You know what? I'm going to drop the link because there's too many people out there that I think have something to contribute to this topic. Provo's here. Moose was here earlier. Midlife Bro Logic was around this morning.
yeah. Well, to your
I
point,
think
Jeff,
this is a
it's
good
like,
conversation for the community to have.
so like the fact that I was touring this country in the game and I turned it into a streaming opportunity. Um, that was new content, but it's obviously I couldn't have planned it because it only happened as a result of that bizarre event that happened last weekend. And if that had not happened, then I would not have done this stream today, right? And basically, my whole point is like, hey, I have to look at where other opportunities are now, and I'm going to stick to my goal here, which is like, try and make this education about investing. And so it's like, a big part of it is just even before you know an investment you're going to make is you do the due diligence, you do the homework, you look about something. So I'm going to go to this place, I'm going to check it out, see what they're like. Um, it'll just be a streaming opportunity. I had done, some of my streams about the game had been more focused on like reviewing the financials of the in-game companies there, but um, in that case, it was uh, more of just something to become more familiarized with that broader world. And so I think a lot of content creators have a good. It's something I've had to do a bit as well, writing for Seeking Alpha, because there's a certain amount of income I'm trying to get each month from the articles, so that I'm never having to work on pulling money out of my portfolio. Basically, I can always just let the income from the articles do the work. And even so, I cannot plan like for a full 12 months of the year. Um, oh,
You
let's
talking about
see.
this like today or just in general?
I think he's talking about um, like the general panelverse thing. Like a lot of people on the panelverse just seem like
And
they don't.
I don't. I consider myself 1 foot in the panelverse, or like at this point, it's like one toe. I have not been involved in the panelverse itself in months. I'm associated with it. We share an audience, we share guests, we share panelists. But what I'm doing on this channel is very different from what most panelverse
Yeah,
channels are doing. So I'm only tangentially associated with the panelverse.
but yeah, but to my point, it's like I think good content creators, whether their platform is YouTube or something else, they have to know how to respond to what is happening and be able to make authentic content about it. So like this is content that would make like if you're responding that just to something that just happened, like in the news or whatever, Jeff, you decide to do a stream about it. That you're still going to do it in a way that is authentically Jeff, but you're still also keeping in up with where people's attention will be. And so a good example is in December. Um,
Are you
oh
stoned
Lord
already?
help us. Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Dude, I'm going to tell you something. How much? Okay, first I'll ask you a question. How much have you actually made on YouTube, Joe?
Me?
me?
No, Joe. I'm
Joe?
asking Joe.
I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm talking about Seeking Alpha.
No, I'm asking you something. I'm asking you how much
Oh
money
yeah,
have you made on YouTube?
none.
Your expertise on YouTube is nothing. You have no expertise at all. You have no clue what it takes to make money on here. It takes charisma, it takes humor, it takes teaching somebody something that they actually want to be taught. And it actually involves talking about shit that people want to hear about. So I hate to be disrespectful, but you're never going to make money talking about this dumb shit that nobody cares about. I yield.
Oh,
What
well,
what's the dumb shit?
The same shit you've been complaining about for like 2 weeks that nobody actually listens to.
the
We're
video
all
game
sitting
stuff.
here laughing.
In fairness, I was interested. That's me. I'll take responsibility for that. I got
Well,
interested in it because there was a larger theme in it about chaos that I was interested in, and so I'm the one that invited that here and kept it going.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's your channel and all that. I'm just saying, I've made hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars actually for people on YouTube. And it's just, it takes a lot more than just like sitting here and being chill. Like, you actually have to bring some fucking energy. You actually have to, like, you have to inspire people, dude. You have to. Like, you have to do something more than what you guys are doing. You guys are just chilling. You guys are chilling.
Well, yeah, but this is a channel that's kind of set up for people to chill.
yeah, Jeff. I was almost done with my point. I'll just go ahead and finish it up because I don't think Moose was anticipating what it was. But in December, I ended up making a decent amount of money for myself, even though for like the first 2/3 of the month, I wasn't sure that I would. I actually thought it would be kind of a weak month for me. But I noticed that a bunch of stocks related to quantum computing were taking off. So I wrote a few articles about such stocks, and they got me so much traffic and made me so much money that they pulled up in one of my better performing months within like the last week and a half of December. And so, and yeah, I still wrote them in ways that I would write them. It's like some people, there's some people who I'd say who write on there who are clearly just kind of chilling.
The
And
same
so,
reason that you don't have a girlfriend is the same reason that your channel sucks.
I I think his channel is designed for a specific audience. I wouldn't say that it sucks. I'd say it's a niche channel. But then so is mine, kind of.
yeah, I'm not really working too hard to make the channel be a big thing. I just kind of throw that out there. Most of my focus is on seeking alpha, where I think somebody with my overall personality type
You're gonna
is
be seeking it for a long time, buddy.
We're we're all seeking the alpha. Are you but you're doing well on seeking alpha though. Your articles are getting traction.
yeah. I mean, I make decent enough money there that I don't really have to worry about things anymore. So that's not the issue, right? It's just at this point, it's just saying like I'll do a bit on my YouTube here and there, and if it means I would slowly build up a following that'll be interested in what I do without me having to do a whole lot of extra work, that is okay with me. But as far as like having to put too much time and attention into it, when really if I'm going to put more time and attention into something, it makes more sense to do it on Seeking Alpha. And there are other income opportunities there that I think you have to be there long enough that you could reach. And that, of course, then there's also just more attention on my own portfolio. So there's definitely better ways to make money. There's only so much I want to focus on being like an expert content creator. If I had nothing else going on, then of course that would change the value proposition of focusing more on YouTube. And I think Moose, I don't know how around you've been for some of the streams, but this is why like I stopped talking about the stock stuff and stuff because talking with Jeff, I realized this is not interesting to at least the folks here, and it's unlikely to naturally snowball and build in anything. So I adjusted to that. I'm just sort of here now to fulfill my promise to Jeff that I would do these um, co-host streams with him, twice a week and
Well, and
continue
it
to work
wasn't
close.
just to me. It was part of a larger project to try to bring in other people to combine our talents to create something that
Mhm.
we could all benefit from. Some kind of
Yeah,
community resource
and that may yet still
talent pool.
materialize, but I agree with you, Moose, and it's like a thing I noticed that where like if we look at like the panelverse, some of the channels that in that area that get a large following, make a lot of money, they're definitely like there's a certain amount of charisma and character in them. I personally don't find them interesting because usually it's just people having petty disputes with each other and quibbling over things and talking past each other and just being really loud and having sassy remarks mixed into
But
all of
it's
that.
energy.
It is energy, right? And so to me, it's like that's just not something I would make. Um,
We need a golden goose.
you know,
You had him. You
Well,
had
as far
Mike.
yeah, he still
You
comes
had
on. As far
Moose.
as this channel though, I've done. I haven't changed. I've done the same thing I've always been doing on here, and it did bring the numbers for a while. So it's not like I started doing something different. This channel's been what it's always been. Oh, wow. Here, we're going to get the true wisdom right now from this guy, Paul.
Oh, whoa,
True wisdom.
Long time.
Jeff, what was I going
man.
to say?
Wow.
Hey, talk about
This is
chaos,
natural
huh, Jeff?
celebrity,
Yeah, this
sir.
is
About
good.
chaos.
Well, we hope it's good chaos. What do you have for
There's
us?
only good. There is only good chaos, right? Let's think
Um,
bad chaos.
well, there's chaos.
That's
And I
fair.
guess there's how we interpret it, how we experience it. But some chaos can lead to undesirable consequences, and some chaos can lead to beneficial consequences, depending on how you exploit it, I guess.
Exactly as Jordan Peterson would say.
So I see you as an opportunity.
Oh yeah, always. Oh yes, I can bring all kinds of destruction or positivity. Who knows? Jeff, we also we messaged a while back. We need to catch up offline at some point.
Let me know. I'm
It's been a
available.
hot minute. There's been a lot. There's been a lot going on.
This is my panel daddy, by the way, everybody. He's the reason that I even got started doing this. So
Yeah, and you're almost at 1,000
his
subscribers.
opinion's going to carry a lot of weight.
No,
And
that
you
shouldn't be
kind of
hard.
folded you kind of folded or pivoted your own content.
Yeah, I stopped streaming just because it just felt, I don't know, it felt too much like I was playing a character, because I'd invite people on, they'd ask me questions and all that stuff, and it's just like, especially if it was like aggressive stuff, I'd have to kind of like play with them a little bit, because otherwise I'm just sitting here taking a bunch of criticism, and I'm just like, okay,
The confrontation, the conflict.
Mhm.
yeah. So I just switched things up. Hey Joe, by the way,
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Paul.
it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
That sounded so ingenuous.
No,
Disingenuous.
this is a lot of people that are part of this.
Hey, can we get rid?
community.
Can we get
all
rid of?
met
Can we
at-
can we
at
can we get
Paul's
rid of it?
channel,
Who's
and
this
Joe was
other guy?
one of
Can we
them.
get rid of him? Can we get rid of? Can we do only cameras on? Only people who are brave enough to
I
assume.
can't. He's my producer.
Oh,
I can't
I'm
get.
cl-
I can't
He's a
get rid of the
producer. How much
moose.
is he paying you? I'll send you more money than he would send for one episode.
I can't.
Get
I
him off
can't
the
do
show.
that to
You
the
can
moose.
remove me. Go
Get him
ahead. I
off the
like this
show.
guy. I love his content, so I'll remove it.
Get him off the
He's
show.
our little element of chaos today.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
see, he
He
dropped
removed
himself off.
That's
There you go.
respectable. Finally, now we only have people who are willing to assume responsibility for the words that they put
And
out.
he cams up all the time. He's cammed before.
Okay,
He's
all right.
probably just in a situation where he can't cam right now.
All right, I respect that. That's fair. I was going to ask. I think Jeff, I made it. I think it was the archetypal memetics video.
Was that the same as the follow memetics one that you had been promising for a while?
I did mention the phylomimetics portion of it. That was the portion where it was like, what do you call it? The Russian theater. They started.
Oh yeah. I remember
That's
I didn't
sort
even
of phylomimetic.
We reviewed that on here, by the way. I did a
Yes,
kind of
I
a
saw that.
reaction
Well,
video to it.
I want to know your opinion, because unlike other people who are weak, their criticism is no good, but your criticism is valid, and I find it more interesting. So, and because you had been like, I'm not sure I believe the whole mimetic fitness type thing, or what in particular did you have?
My main criticism was, besides the fact that you were working off of Peterson and not Fry, was that you were trying to tie it. It seemed more like mythologically oriented content, that you were trying to scienceify and tie it into science to give it some validity, and I didn't think that was necessary, and that there's not a one-to-one correspondence between the way genes work and the way means work.
That's true. There is not a one-to-one correspondence.
That you were using a mythical analogy and not necessarily.
Well, you can. Well, the useful, what would you say? The validity of an analogy is dependent upon its ability to get the point that you're trying to get across. And I agree that you can do too much one-for-one gene equals mean. But well, I'd like to think I wasn't doing that, but that's certainly a danger of, well, I'm making it too. A mean operates exactly the same way a gene would. But for example, I'm going to do another video called mimetic feudalism, where it's specifically not the case, right? Because a gene, like a virus, a genetic virus, spreads from physical proximity.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only factor. But a mimetic virus spreads much more if it infects someone who's charismatic and influential, right? And so even the way that culture spreads versus viruses spread is different in that regard. So it's definitely not one-to-one.
So you're talking about influence, basically.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah.
And the analogy also breaks down for me because it's like viruses spread passively, but I think influence is not received passively. There's factors on the part of the listener, the viewer, the audience that influence how memes spread.
That's true too. Someone emailed me about that and was like, well, you have to consider the psychological state of the person receiving the meme. Because, for example, if I watch a movie in a theater where all the lights are dim and we're all looking, well, it's going to be a very different experience than if I watch that same movie on my phone in the subway. Right. So there's a psychological component of the receiver that you have to listen to. And that's something that I plan on potentially incorporating in.
Yeah, it's like it's everyone's like a prism. So you have the meme and it comes into them, but it bends the meme in its own individual way. Like it's different for each person.
I
So you
think
have to take into account how the individual influences
true.
how memes are received.
I think is our fundamental disagreement still that you prioritize logic over art and memes? Do you think that's still
over what? I think that's because I'm a logical person.
Right.
So
right.
I navigate by logic because
Yes.
it works. But I think you have a better sense of how the common, ordinary person that's not hyperlogical,
the normie, so to speak.
The normies. You have a much better sense of
like Dolbez, the ultimate normie.
I don't know about that, but Dolbez is on your side. We had a stream about this the other day where he goes off of emotion way more than I realized for somebody being so.
Saying just emotion is reductive.
Yeah,
well, you can go back and watch the stream though. That came out of your own conversation. So I'm just summarizing what happened on the stream, where you yourself were acknowledging that you were going. It was particularly the one about the aristocracy, and you just emotionally like the aristocracy better. There's not really a logical rationale underpinning it.
But yes, but again, calling it emotional, I feel is reductive because.
Well, that's what you.
I like
the negative connotation. It's like saying women are emotional. Like, oh, you're being emotional right now. Hold on, Jeff. You agree that even your logic is motivated by emotion, right?
I mean, isn't that kind of embedded in the word emotion?
Yeah, for me, it's one thing. Emotions and thought are one cognitive complex. They're all related. They're different forms of the same thing. I don't separate them. And I mythologize as well, so I don't go off of pure logic. There are areas of my life where I'm going off of imagination. I'm going off of my own subjective response to things, particularly in the areas of other people and how I see myself and memory. I mythologize like memory. There's no way to logically, empirically determine any of that. So I do. Maybe we can call it the irrational, the rational, and the irrational, or something. So that is part of my thinking, my cognitive processing, and my worldview. I'm just very aware of which areas I'm using logic in and which areas I'm not.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and I'm not moved by, I'm more moved by logic. So if you want to motivate me or influence me, you make a good rational argument, and then I will either adopt it or not. But I think the ordinary person, you have a better sense of what moves them or influences them or motivates them when it's not logic. Pathos over logos.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I was just talking to a friend of mine who is not interested in politics really at all, and that is sort of what we talked about. Of like, a lot of my closest friends and the groups that I spent most of my time around were not idea focused, and so I do have sort of a finger on the pulse of how people kind of think like that. But logically, have you finally come around and realized that Israel is a terrorist state? Or
no, that's what you're up here for, to smuggle in Israel. No, it's still part of the Western liberal.
I'm gonna carry it in on my back like a cross,
because I think you mythologize somewhat when it comes to Israel yourself,
I think you need to
because
follow
you
that.
select certain facts and then you place them into a certain
I
story.
think that's what you do. I think you
I think
ignore.
we all do, but you need to be aware that you're doing it as much as the
That's
rest of
true.
us, and depending on the facts you're selecting and the
Yep.
narrative you're placing them into, you get your opinion about Israel.
I think that you are ignoring the degree to which Israel, the government is susceptible to far right religious ethno supremacist extremism, which is rampant in Israel. And I think you are
Yeah,
not
there's been an
accounting
uptick
for
of
that.
that in the last couple decades.
Certainly,
And I mean,
even
And I've said
secular.
from the start, if you
to the
remember
point that
when we
even
started this,
Israelis are negatively affected by it. Like Israeli women, like wanting to have just more traditionally male professions, have
Yep.
faced hostility from like conservative Orthodox Jewish
yeah,
people
but
within.
I don't think that invalidates Israel as a modern
No, I
Western
listen. Nobody
democracy.
loves
And
Israel
from
more
the
than I
start,
do.
Paul, when we were having the Israel
No,
conversation,
we're just saying this is a feature of Israeli society, and it's a thing that people sometimes forget.
How do you deal with it, though?
How do I deal with it?
No,
I
no,
say,
how given that Israeli Jewish supremacy is a feature, or at least a growing feature, of Israeli society, much like how what would you say, Islamism is a growing feature of Palestinian
Mhm.
society. It's being
is there a
indoctrinated
way to
into children.
quantify that growth? Because
Actually, Benny
we
Morris.
determined from the start when we had this conversation like a year
Yeah.
ago that we're working off of different inputs.
What is
And
the different
I
input?
think I don't have the same. I'm not working off of the same facts that you are around the extremism. So for me,
Yeah.
it plays less of a role in how I view Israel than it does for
So
you. But I may not be looking at the same thing you're looking at either.
that's fair. Well, okay, that's fair. That's useful to know about. Okay, well, if I'm going to try to convince someone like a Jeff, what do I need to convey to potentially get them to think, okay, there
You
might be
have to
more to
show
consider
me
here?
the
Well, Benny.
rampant
Okay, well, here's the
extremism that's
fact.
a
Here's the
danger.
fact. This
And
is
I know about a few politicians that seem marginalized even within the Israeli government themselves.
sure. But Benny Morris, Benny Morris.
No.
He's the one that
See.
partnered with Destiny in that debate against Norman Finkelstein. Mr. Borelli, you are such a fantastic moron. That debate. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
I've
fuck.
seen his
I
face.
think
We are
you
working on different set of
consume
facts.
content from Israel way more than I do as well. So you may have a better
Potentially.
sense of the current
Maybe.
conditions on the ground
What
than
I
I
will
do.
say is a very Zionist, left-wing Israeli historian named Benny Morris, who's very credible. No one disputes his credibility. He has pointed out that because ultra-Orthodox, ultra-fundamentalist Jewish supremacist types, not all of them, not all Orthodox are Jewish supremacists, but all Jewish supremacists are generally, pretty religious.
Of course.
That percentage was like 10%. Now it's like 30%. And because those religious people have more kids than secular Israelis, within the next 10 to 20 years, the proportion of that population is only going to grow and get more votes in the Knesset. That's why the Jewish Power Party has a lot of power. Although Ben-Gvir did just leave the recent government, which is good. I'm happy that happened.
Yeah,
but that's over the hostage deal, and that's a short-term thing. And as much as I'd love for it to be true, that therefore that eliminates that proportion of, the ideological side of Israel that says, well, it's actually good. This is our land because God gave us this land. Well, that proportion of the population is growing, and I don't know how to deal with that. How do you? It's the same.
But that's like climate change. That's your subjective sense of what's going to happen, or that's your speculation of what might happen.
I'm a bit curious.
Benny Morris says this is going to happen.
But I don't. He's one person. I don't. He's not anything. Nothing about the future is fact. Even from Benny Morris, it's speculation.
That's true. It's all vibes.
I'm a bit behind on this.
I'm not a catastrophizer. So even if Benny Morris says it,
that's fair.
Yeah, Paul, I'm a bit behind on this, at least as it concerns your interest in the topic. But clearly, it is because you're going to some level of detail here.
Right. I went on Destiny stream, and in front of 280,000 people, I said, "Well, maybe Israel did 9/11," which, to be clear, maybe they did. I don't know. I've never looked into it.
You're hanging out with such psychopathic.
I mean,
trash.
You can consider it, but.
I mean, I know that Mossad bombed synagogues in order to get people to come to Israel, so I wouldn't put it past them that they would bomb American installations to try and
It's
invade
just
Israel.
it's separating the myth from the fact when it comes
True.
to that.
I don't know.
And
That's
we're like an
all I'm
ocean
saying is
away from all
anyone
of
who
it.
rules it out with certainty is delusional.
Well, let me ask you this, Paul, just
Yeah.
to why I said that I was noticing this is
Hit me.
what are you hoping will occur, or like what do you hope, like at least a general outcome could be as a result of discussing this?
That the U.S. does not provide blanket support to Israel, that we condition our aid in such a way that addresses the Jewish supremacy in Israel and say, look, you have, if you continue to launch incursions into the West Bank, if you continue to support the settlers, we're not sending you money anymore. We're going to shut off the code to your F-16s. And then Israel, the good Israelis, will be like, all right, guys, America gave us an ultimatum. We either side with common sense and justice or these psychopathic religious extremists. And I trust that the good Israelis will choose common sense and justice.
I do too, and I trust there's more of them than the
And I
extremists,
think
just
we
like
can
in
actually,
America.
right? And I think that we as Americans can actually catalyze that. What would you say? That
Mimetic warfare.
mimetic warfare, but that disassociation between the secular Israelis and the Jewish supremacists. And I think we should do that. And I would say that's a good political.
But then we get it, like America already gets accused of meddling in the affairs of other nations. Like,
right. So who cares? I don't give a shit.
You know me and self-determination. I think this is for Israel.
Okay, well, fine, fair enough. Let's not send any money to Israel at all under any circumstance. Fine.
Well, that's not.
I don't think it means we cut off all aid to Israel either, because it's in our best interest as part of our own self-determination to aid Israel in certain areas, and I think there's treaties too.
Correct. I agree in certain areas, not funding Jewish supremacist fundamentalists.
I'm not. Do you know for a fact that's where the money's going? Like, are we sending it directly to the
Netanyahu government is sanctioning these and launching incursions into the West Bank as we speak. Yeah. We're not tying any of our aid to whether or not they remove settlers from the West Bank, which they should.
I just don't know enough. So
that's fair. And honestly, I certainly could be more educated than I am. But I as a democratic citizen of this country, my vote matters, and my opinion is characterized by, I see what's going on in Israel, and I think
absolutely. If you want to base your vote on American issues on that, I support more power.
Well, a question to you, Jeff. If you support the self-determination of nations, like, do you support them some more than others? Like, since you're American,
yes,
does
Western
America have a right?
liberal democracies over non-Western.
Okay.
Liberal
so, if America would have a great benefit, or at least it believes it would have great benefits by heavily meddling in other nations. Yes, that's a breach of the self-determinations of those nations, but is it then not also sort of the self-determination of America? Like,
yeah, and it depends on the meddling. If it's just influence and diplomacy and stuff like that, that's just part of geopolitics.
Jeff, probability 0% to 100%. What do you think the probability that Israel was involved in 9/11 is?
My conspiracy, like my aversion to conspiracies, wants. I'm going to start it at 0 until I have a reason to
11%.
adopt 1%.
Not 1%. Is 1% too high?
I don't have a reason to assume 1%, unless you can show me some facts that would give me.
Hypothetically, if I could show you evidence that Israel has done similarly level of evil type stuff, would that raise your percentage?
Not about 9/11, because as far as I know, it was.
So if I demonstrate, if I said to you, "Hey, Jeff, here are," let's hypothetically, because I can't do this right now, but hypothetically, if I were to show you 5 separate instances of Israel doing something like blowing up their Jewish synagogues in order to encourage Jews to move to Israel, if I could show you a demonstrated pattern of that, would that mildly increase the percentage by?
No, you'd still have to give me a reason to tie it to 9/11, because as far as I know, it was Al Qaeda, and I haven't heard anything like a official reason that it wasn't, outside of conspiracy and speculation.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not. Look, I don't know.
This is fascinating stuff.
Well,
I'm certainly not willing to rule it out, though.
More likely? Like if they have done something similar before, then it makes it more likely
That's
that
inferential,
that
though,
specific
and I'm too
conspiracy
logical for
is
that.
that's
true.
right. But it's the same. Like you said, Jeff. Nothing in the future is fact, right? But we can use previous historical data, like the sun. The sun rises and sets every day. We don't. It's not a fact that it will rise and set tomorrow, but we can say, well, given this past history, we can assume that it will tomorrow. Now, that's obviously a very extreme example because the sun has risen and set with 100% consistency since the dawn of time. But to a much lower degree, if we can say, well, a country like Israel, we know for a fact has engaged in horrible, evil level shit, like, fucking killing civilians for
They
the
say
sake
the
of.
same thing about the U.S.
Oh, trust me, I would say the same thing too, Jeff. Operation Northwoods is indisputable.
It's this. America is a superpower that is
Yeah.
absolutely massive. Israel is kind of tiny for their size. I would argue it's
Yeah, but for their size, they exert an absurd amount of influence over the United States. So it makes them an extension of the United States. Or,
But
arguably
like
the other way
again,
around.
how do you quantify that? The sense of influence that you think Israel exerts is subjective.
No, it's not. Here, let me tell you. Okay, this is good. And so I talked to someone who said, Paul, you sound like you're a little unhinged sometimes when you talk about Israel. And it would do well to provide more examples. And so I'm going to do a video where I just cite back to back clips of all the things that cause me to have the opinion that I do. And one of the perhaps most damning ones is the fact that the single biggest donor to Donald Trump, Miriam Adelson, is the widow of Sheldon Adelson, who is an Israeli multi-billionaire.
Yeah, I remember him.
Miriam Adelson, the single biggest donor to the Trump campaign, gave him $100 million. And Trump, there's a speech of a Trump. He's giving a speech, and Miriam's in the crowd. He says, "There's Miriam. Miriam would come into the White House every other week. Give me Golan Heights. Give me Jerusalem." And I was like, "Jesus, Miriam, like give me a week or two or something like that." And because Trump is so clearly he's not lying. He's a bamboozle. He exaggerates, but he's not lying. Miriam Adelson, an Israeli citizen, dual citizen, but Israeli citizen, gave him $100 million. And then he explains she would come in requesting things like, give me the Golan Heights, move the embassy to Jerusalem. We know historically that ended up happening. It's logical to say, well, geez, the level of influence that someone like a Miriam Adelson would have among the many, many, many other large Israeli donors, including AIPAC, but not limited to AIPAC, we can say, they probably, through financial means, exert a great deal of influence on someone like Donald Trump. If a Russian oligarch gave Donald Trump $100 million to give him Crimea, we'd all be like, it's kind of.
Hey, Paul, I have a question. Because
hold on. I'm not saying that just because I said it, therefore you have to believe it. I need to do a better job of finding the right clips, showing the firsthand evidence, because otherwise, just hearsay.
Well, yeah, the first-hand evidence, because what you have now is inference, and I think that the deeper debate is the relationship between logic and inference, because you keep using the word it's logical to conclude, but you're basing it on an inference, and logic.
But that's hold on. What's the difference between inference and deductive logic?
I think that is the question. That is the debate.
Yeah.
Okay. When are you doing actual deductive logic, and when are you doing inference?
Go ahead, Joe. Wait, first off, do you condemn the Israeli government? Yes or no?
Do I?
Yeah. Do you condemn Benjamin Netanyahu?
No, I don't condemn anyone in that conflict.
Do you condemn Hamas?
I don't condemn anyone in that conflict.
Wow, you don't condemn Hamas?
I condemn Hamas.
So wait, Joe, you hate Jews is what I'm hearing.
No.
You said you don't condemn Hamas, which is the same as saying I hate Jews.
No, it's not my issue. It's not mine to solve.
Interesting.
They're gonna have to figure it out.
This is the most anti-Semitic panel I've ever joined. I'm just kidding.
If one side achieves total victory over the other, I'll watch it on TV, I guess.
That's fair. All right. What were you gonna say though?
Yeah. So my question isn't even so much to quibble about anything you raised, but I was just noticing that the topic got here by talking about like mythologizing things, and there's like I guess the issue is like how this issue is mythologized is how it got to. I just wondered, just like, was there like another point to that you were building to, and then we got a bit into the weeds of the things. I just want to make sure that if there was something you had wanted to mention there before it had gotten
About mythologizing.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just
maybe I was wrong
because Jeff is a reliably logic-based person, and since my sort of project has been a lot of, like I always tweet, vibes greater than logic, so intuition greater than logic. It's important for me to be able to get feedback in terms of, okay, well, as someone who is decidedly logic focused, which obviously has its advantages, is it because if Jeff says, "Well, I think you're wrong, and here's why," that's one thing. But if Jeff says, "Well, hold on, I acknowledge that I'm a little bit more logic focused, and the average person does kind of operate with that," then I'm willing to. Then that's a sign that I'm on the right track, more so than if it's like, and I can't think of anything. But Jeff has called me out for dumb shit before, so like, yeah. So that's sort of why I raised the topic.
Well, this is what my logic brain is telling me. The fact that Miriam Adelson donated $100 million is probably a fact that can probably be verified if you look at financial records.
Yeah.
I would say the conclusions you're drawing from that is vibes. You have based on that fact, you have a vibe that Donald Trump is doing stuff in response to that, but that's not anything you can demonstrate or verify like you can that she donated the money in the first place.
Jeff, there's
so
very,
at some
very
point
little
fact
you
shades
can
over into
demonstrate
vibe.
logically.
Correct.
There's very little you can demonstrate logically. At some point, you just have
Right,
to.
and my whole project is I think it's helpful to keep it separate, to keep the categories of what you can demonstrate separate from the
Jeff, as
vibes.
David
Because
Hume,
when people start weaving their narrative, it kind of gets melded together, and then that's where the
Jeff,
influence
surely
starts to happen.
this is the old Humean problem of deduction. What you just said, there, like you said, it is a fact that Miriam Adelson gave a lot of money, but the conclusions I'm drawing from that shades into vibes.
Right. Yes.
And that's what's called the problem of deduction.
Right.
I state a fact, and then the next logic or the next thing that I regard as logical isn't necessarily a fact.
Right, and I just think being aware of that, like just like Hume, is helpful.
Yes, but what I think the problem you're making is you're in some sense you're paralyzing yourself from being able to make truth claims because you're saying, well, I'm not willing to go from pure fact to deduction because it has this danger of shading into vibes.
I'm not willing to call it a truth claim.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Is then what you're. This is David Hume's point. Is if you're of that mindset, then you've paralyzed yourself to the point where you're not even willing to say that the sun will rise tomorrow is a fact.
And also, Jeff, it's a truth claim. It's not the truth. You have a claim about truth. That doesn't mean you're saying this is absolutely the truth. You're claiming it is the truth. It's not as if your logic and deduction.
Because it seems to me like it's being put forth in a way where it's claiming to absolutely be the truth and trying to convince me of that.
But at some point, you just have
because it wants me to take a certain position on Israel that I don't have a reason to take because it doesn't rise to the level of truth.
Look, that's fair. And this is
it.
something I continuously realize is like, this isn't that important to most people, which is fair. And it's and I understand that. And I understand that. And I forgot what the other point I was going to make was, but so do you guys, what do you think I'm most wrong about? So far,
I don't think you're
anything I've done so far.
You're wrong about anything, but like Gomez says, there's truth and there's truth claims, and just keeping the two very distinct.
Well, I think it depends on what your goals are, Paul. What would be considered a mistake? So I know at least the basics of it, but I don't know that I necessarily know. There's one where you're trying to get. I know that much, but I don't know if there's a certain way of how you're trying to get there. Or if there might be other things that you want to accomplish along the way as well.
You're trying to influence.
I think so.
And so you have the goal of influencing people to take certain positions around Israel that you want them to take.
Well,
Well,
I think
I don't think you're.
you're.
You're
Well, broadly, my goal is to influence people, whether it's Israel or not. I'm and there is a part. I think that arguably the best way to influence people about, let's say, Israel, is to not constantly talk about it, right? And just be like, well, here are my opinions on other things, and if people listen and go, yeah, this PF Young guy, when I like his opinions on this, and that. I don't really know much about Israel, but like, given he's correct about these other things, it seems like I don't see why he'd be incorrect about the Israel thing. And if that's the best I can do, then that's fine. Also, Israel is not my primary concern at the end of the day. I mean, it's the reason I'm concerned with it is because it is a source of serious division within the right and within the left. And I am fundamentally interested in those things that cause division. So ergo, but it's not necessarily like Israel per se. If America stopped supporting Israel and we got what I wanted achieved politically and we were not being drawn into wars, I don't even know what I could care about this issue. Obviously I'm not happy with what's going on in Palestine, but like there's all kinds of terrible things going on in the world. I just don't want my tax dollars paying for it. But my broader point is, I think I want to become I'm experimenting with this idea of cultural centrism. Like there's it started off with enlightened centrism, right? And that was very kind of terminally online, right? It's kind of hard
still there.
I still use it too, but it is kind of, it's hard to, if someone doesn't know who I am and I say I'm an enlightened centrist unironically, it seems very pretentious, and it creates more barriers than it solves for what I'm trying to do. Some of the time, for people who are familiar with that term already, then it works because they're like, oh, he's kind of ironically taking back the power of that word, right? Then I kind of switched to radical centrist, which is a little bit broader, and now I'm leaning more into cultural centrist, sort of like cultural Christian. Like I'm not Christian, I'm cultural Christian. Like, I mean, I'm not centrist. I'm cultural centrist.
I kind of get what you're saying, Paul. I say that a bit myself. I've sometimes referred to myself as like culturally Prussian, which that's not even a country anymore.
Yeah,
but,
right. I'm culturally centrist. So
right,
I might vote conservative. I might vote progressive.
But isn't that just political centrism?
Cultural centrism. It's cultural centrism.
Yeah. Yeah, but like for me, it's like I think a good example is one thing that's occurred to me is like a big part of the way I operate, and it's clear that like where the roots of this go is I'm not a Christian. I didn't have a particularly religious upbringing, but what is a big part of my upbringing is the Protestant work ethic, even if the Protestant part was very quiet. That's how my father operates.
That comes from.
That's how his father operated, and that came from people who had some religious belief. And even if the religious doctrine part dies down across the generations, that characterization still drives me as their descendants, right? And so there's a part of them that lives on in me through that, and my ability to be a workaholic about things and honor my agreements and just be extremely conscientious about that stuff. Whereas other people look at me. So I've noticed, let's say if their cultural heritage has roots more towards Southern Europe, they kind of go and wonder, wow, why are you so worried about this?
Because those lazy fucking Catholics.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm adding another element of chaos onto the panel.
I know Dolbez is a good Protestant. He wouldn't dare tolerate any Catholics set foot.
Mike, I'm not talking shit about you, okay?
What could you call it? Ethically Christian? Like, is that where your ethic comes from?
I'm a Roman Catholic. So.
Oh no!
No, you're not. You hate Catholics. You don't even think they're Christian.
Hold on, Jeff. Get rid of these papal shills. We want Protestants only on here. All right.
He's not Catholic.
I was baptized Roman Catholic. But I consider myself more Christian, but I am baptized Roman Catholic. I am.
Me too.
So I do believe.
You've been tainted. You've been tainted by the corruption of the papacy.
Baptized Catholic?
No, not at all. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe He died for our sins. That's what I believe. That's just what I choose to believe.
So you're an actual Christian.
Yeah.
Well, he's got an actual
Christian.
Yeah, it's interesting because my mother is Catholic, and I don't take from her character traits nearly as much.
Interesting.
But
it's the cool thing. I'll tell you one thing. The cool thing about Catholics, especially Roman Catholics, but Catholics in general, is that they do have the best services for people that are homeless or needy or need financial help, or like like giving back to the community,
Yeah.
even though there's a lot of
If it
evil
works.
within the church, with some of the indoctrines and stuff, but they still try to do a lot of good things for people. They do. And that when you get to religion, I heard you guys talking about, Judaism and, Israel versus Palestine. And, it's something where if we're not there, it's kind of hard for us to really pick a side because we're not in that situation.
True.
I mean, it's a war zone. It's a war zone that's been going on since what? Since Saladin. Before that, when the Jews ran, the kingdom and then the Muslims took it over and they took it back. And I think the English conquer the Muslims and take it back again. And
yeah, Kingdom of Jerusalem, King Baldwin, the leper king. Oh yeah. Oh, it's a shit show over there. But that's the point.
Yeah.
We have a response as people who are not directly involved in the conflict. We as Americans, also because of our ties to the conflict through aid to Israel and Palestine and Egypt for that matter, we're in a unique position that imposes upon us a level of responsibility that others don't necessarily have, which is we actually have to be the level-headed mediators in this. We actually, because we're the ones that don't have a stake in the game. If it's up to either of these two sides, you're just going to fucking kill each other. So we must exercise judiciousness with, okay, hey, if we're going to give money to Israel, for example, to fund their Iron Dome, which is a wonderful investment as far as I'm concerned, let's stop rockets from killing people. Good shit. We should condition it on having Israel stop doing the things that everyone, even the Israelis, agree is damaging the normalization of relationships between Israel and its Muslim neighbors, which is essential for long-term peace.
Well, which is one thing that is very true that everyone on this panel can agree with. I think one thing that's true: America only gets involved with things that's going to benefit America. It's going to benefit them in the long run.
I think
don't know about
peace
that.
would
No,
benefit.
I don't know about that.
No.
I'll tell you why.
Well,
Yeah.
We are involved with Israel in a way that I do not believe is beneficial for us at this time in history. And the reason is because there are many Americans who have strong moral and religious ties to Israel. The 30 million Christian Zionists being among the major group, but many others, like Ben Shapiro. This is what when I make that video, Jeff, of just back-to-back clips of all the things that caused me to have the opinions I do on Israel. Ben Shapiro, this will be one of them. Ben Shapiro says, verbatim, quote, "The single biggest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States is the existence of the state of Israel." What the fuck is that? He's the head of one of the largest conservative media groups.
Is he dual citizen?
Yeah.
So, Jung, do you think? Hold on, Jung. Do you think that he's Messiah?
What did you call me, Mike?
Jung. It's Jung.
Jung. Is it Jung?
Say Jung. Come on,
Jung is fine.
break it even more. Say Jung.
Or
Jung is
PF?
Everybody Wang Jung tonight. No, but PF. Do you think Shapiro is Mossad?
Do I think he is Mossad?
Yeah. He works with him. He works with him.
I think the fact that he has ties to Netanyahu renders him an effective agent of Israel.
Vibes.
Yes.
Wait, Jeff. If Tucker Carlson was getting dinner with Putin and had a regular relationship with Putin, you don't think it'd be a logical next step to say Tucker Carlson's coverage of Russia might be influenced by his personal relationship to Putin?
It depends on how combative it is. Like, if you actually push
I agree.
back a lot, then
correct. And Ben Shapiro is in no way, shape, or form combative with Netanyahu. Do I think he's Mossad? No. Do I think he prioritizes the
I'm just saying, epistemologically, there's no way to know.
Indisputably.
Outside of
So,
inference
Paul,
and
I want to
speculation.
ask one thing. You had said,
You know what, Joe? You could ask two things if you want.
Okay. At least at this moment, just one thing. But
Go ahead.
you had mentioned that because of America's unique position with regard to
Hold on, real quick.
Palestine.
Hold on, Joe. 1 second.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
Nobody loves Jews more than I do. Okay.
Me.
I just want everyone to know that. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, you had mentioned that, because America's position in relation to the Israel-Palestine conflict, you think that it's a unique position. They can influence the outcome for the better, and so you think that's the reason they have a responsibility. But I assume you would also think that for a lot of things that exist outside of America, America is in a similarly unique position, being the global superpower, and that Americans should feel a similar sense of responsibility. Is that true? Do you look at it from a more general
The
framework,
hero
or is it,
complex.
Not
or is it that?
necessarily.
Okay.
I would say
Or if they
because
don't currently exist, they could easily emerge.
because American tax dollars. Here's what I'd say. The rule is, if America is sending my money to a foreign nation that is involved in a conflict, then that conflict becomes worth consideration. Versus, well, there's all kinds of shit going on in the world. Does America have an obligation to step in? I'd say no. We cause more problems than we solve often. Hey, Steve, by the way.
Why do you view it as
Steve.
your money?
Because it's my tax dollars.
Okay.
And I pay. Listen, nobody loves paying taxes more than I do.
Me.
Okay, but
No, Jeff does.
yeah, but I'd prefer it go to good causes rather than Jewish supremacists who say Judea and Samaria are my lands because my silly little book says it is. I'd say, you know what? If my tax dollars were funding science denialism programs by banning evolution and teaching creationism instead, I'd be upset by that. And because my tax dollars are going to a government that sanctions that same level of religious psychopathy, except worse because it's actually like directly stealing the land of people, I'm upset by that.
What do you think of
let me
Americans
ask you this.
in a recurring position where they don't have any taxable income, and basically they're not actually paying into it? What do you think of their Americans who basically don't pay taxes because they don't fall into a situation in which
what about them?
Do you think that they would feel the same, or do you think
probably not? I don't know. They're probably concerned with what's going on in their own life, like most people.
Okay, so you would say that it's more specific to not just being an American, but being like a taxpayer. Is that the basis?
Yeah, he's
of
a stakeholder.
Sure.
In
okay. Okay. Gotcha.
But I think
whether you pay taxes or not, you're still a member of the same society, and you have a right and obligation to speak your voice. That's why it's called society.
Yeah.
If everybody was beholden to this ideology of being a taxpayer as some kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? We used to be set up so when the country was first originally born, you had to be a property owner to be able to vote, right?
Yes, which is how it should be. You should only rich white male landowners.
No, and you want to educate like a voter
rich
test
white
too.
heterosexual
You want to gatekeep
landowners.
the vote.
All right,
You're an
have at least
elitist.
5 kids.
Yeah, so that's how it was set up originally, and then we came to the conclusion that if we're all living here, we all have something to input into society, and we all get to dictate to our communities how we want to live, right? So this idea that you have to be a taxpayer to have an opinion is hogwash. It's like it's the same thing. If
I don't know,
if I didn't vote for a president, I don't get to complain. Yes, I absolutely do, because I wasn't given a choice of two that I liked. So I don't.
Well, I guess you could complain about that.
This idea.
That's a separate. There's a separate discussion about voting rights and who should be able to vote and whatnot. I think you should have to complete citizenship.
It's your voice.
Sure, we can have that conversation, but that's not my point. My point is that just because someone's a taxpayer or not a taxpayer does not immediately negate their ability to comment on social issues that do directly affect them. Because
I agree, Steve. Even if people don't pay taxes, they should still be able to say, "Fuck what Israel is doing." I agree with you. Amen.
Yeah.
Mike, you were going to say something Catholic?
Yeah, you seem pretty fixated on Israel. I mean, I'm not sure where the hatred comes from, but you seem pretty fixated on that one. I'm just as observation. I've never met you, but you seem pretty fixated on that one.
Have you seen my videos before?
No, I have not. I'll definitely.
Good. All right, cool. Refreshing, clean, excellent.
That's okay. I'll definitely check you out. But the thing is
you don't have to. In fact, don't. I don't.
My words, not
Here, if the rest of you want to check him out, there's his channel.
I don't get emotional over YouTube. But the thing is that Israel's not going to go away. They're not going to go away. They're always going to be our allies. So
go away. Correct.
I don't want them to go away. Hear me. Okay, well, hear me out. If we can manage maybe some of the chaos that they are inflicting, do I think as an Israel supporter, do they get out of pocket? Yes, I do. I do believe they overstep their bounds sometimes. I do agree with that. Yeah. Do I think Israel should cease to exist? No. Do I
I
think
agree.
the
I never
U.S.
said that. Hold on.
Do I think the U.S.
Have I said anything that you disagree with in terms of policy
Okay,
prescription?
well, if you rewind it, I didn't say you did. I never said that you said anything like that.
That's
I'm
why
just
I
giving
asked.
my.
I'm
just giving
because
my opinion.
well, hold on. You said you just said I seem kind of obsessed about the Israel thing.
You do, because
And
that's what
I'm
you're
saying-
talking about. Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. We'll come back to that. But I've been on this panel for a little bit now. You don't you agree or
Okay, calm
disagree?
down.
I have
All right.
not said
Hey.
anything that you disagree with from a policy prescription, right? That
No,
we
I'm not saying
should
that. But
condition
you're
aid.
getting defensive because I said you seem fixated on it because it is your main topic on what your talking
Well, in the
point for
past
today.
20 minutes.
Just today. It was since I've been on. It's your talking point.
That's
all.
fine. But you're aware
no
that
one's
we've
being-
only been talking for 20 minutes, so it would be
Okay, but no one's
to
being
say that I'm
disrespectful or anything
fixated
like
on
that.
it would be a mistake
Yeah.
potentially, right? Because you're only getting a
It
very
wouldn't be a
small
mistake
subset.
because it's the center of your conversation. But like I said, it's interesting, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
I'm not disputing it. I
Well,
want to hear what you have.
I'll tell you. Part
Yeah.
of what drives
Yeah.
it is the fact that I see a lot of dead Palestinian children on my timeline, and I'm concerned with that.
But what about the dead Israelis?
I'm
Yeah,
concerned with
and
that
what
as well.
about the Palestinian children terrorists in
I agree. I
kindergarten
think
that are being
Hamas is as
indoctrinated
bad
into
as
becoming
Netanyahu,
terrorists?
for sure.
They're not innocent
You know what I
little
think?
children.
I think
Do you know what I
anyone
think?
who
I think
defends Hamas is
I
problematic.
think Palestinians and Israelis really are family that are only divided by an ideology of religion. But really, they're family. They come from the same. I
Sure.
think. Tell me if I'm wrong. They come from the
Yes.
same group of people.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so
It's the
it's
Middle
like
Eastern
a
version of the Hatfield and McCoys.
that's it, right? It's like
Ireland,
Middle Eastern.
or Ireland and England.
It's it. So why can they not find a common ground? Because maybe Palestine's a
Because,
little
Mike-
bit too violent. Maybe Israel's not willing to bend their knee because they want to look like
Or
they're the
Israel's too
champion.
violent. Why did you leave out
Oh.
Israel's too violent? The Jewish supremacist. Do you agree that
Probably because
Jewish
October
supremacy?
7th.
Hold on.
Well,
Mike,
Israel, I'll
Mike,
give you
do you
this.
agree
Let
that-
me tell you something. All right. PF, I'll tell you this. Israel can be more violent than Palestine when provoked. When provoked.
No.
Israel will
Okay,
not
that's
go into
wrong.
a
So this is a
chat
fact of the
unless
matter
they're-
disagreement. So hold on. Yes or no? Do you agree? There are. We won't give a proportion, but let's say there are many, not most certainly, but there are many people in Israel who are as disgusting and evil as Hamas. Do you agree or disagree?
people like as their nature. I'm not there. I can't tell you that. Actions wise, when it comes to war and
Actions-wise,
combat,
yes.
they're equally as vicious. Equally as
Okay.
vicious.
And I would say, fair enough. Okay, so we agree on
Yeah.
that. And I think we would agree that it is to Israel's detriment that that faction of Israeli society has any level of substantial influence in how the country is run. Like, for example, the people that say Judea and Samaria is our land by right because God said we're the chosen people and we get this land, and then they go and kill Palestinians and remove them from their land because they said God has a right for us to do that. You would agree that those people, it would be in the U.S. and Israel and Palestine's interests if those people were marginalized politically, economically, and otherwise.
You know, the one thing is that, you know, I can't speak on that because I'm not an expert in those situations or those topics.
Okay.
But I can tell you this: this is what I see in my feeble mind. You know, for what I have, I see two people that are related, that are brothers, that are fighting over nothing. That could compromise and make peace. But why the heck can they not figure it out? They've been doing this for thousands of years.
And
we're not talking about
therefore-
2 months.
Right, Mike. And so the reason that this is a concern of mine, and the reason I've been talking about this is because I find that very few people, when we get to the bottom of, when I make my fundamental point, very few people actually disagree with me, even if they're pro-Israel. And so it's simply interesting for me to lay out these points and ultimately get to the same conclusion that a lot of people get to, which is, at the end of the day, we probably should, as Americans, recognizing what you just said, these people are at each other's throats in a way that is irrational beyond belief. So it's up to us, the mediators, to try and do something to step in and maybe make a difference. And I would say, yes, therefore we should have, as a political policy, stripping aid from Israel if and only if they do not do anything to address the psychopathic religious Jewish supremacists that are causing much of the antagonism in that region. That's my fundamental policy proposal.
Sure.
Is that fair?
That would take me a long time to unpack. No, fair enough. That's
Not, yeah,
that's
listen,
your view.
not yes or no.
That's your view. I can't agree or disagree. I would have to unpack and research everything you just said because I'm not qualified to even comment.
Fair enough. And I'll just end with this.
Please.
It's great vibes. I'll just end with this. That is why I'm just explaining, because I agree, I do. And if you watch my channel, trust me, I'm way more fixated than I am in this conversation. My primary concern with this issue is, in my mind, there's such an obvious answer. Like you said, you have to unpack it, and fair enough. Who am I? You shouldn't fucking take anything I say at face value. But assuming I'm correct, let's assume that I'm correct. The fact that so many people who at first disagree with me, but then come to the same conclusion I did, at minimum is just something that I'm like, okay, this is something that I can do. There's a truth here that other people aren't seeing that if I focus on, I can exploit for the benefit of ultimately everyone, in my opinion. Hence my perhaps undue fixation on God's chosen people, the Jews.
I think there's also we're over.
Wait, we hear from Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
So the interesting thing about the Israel and Palestine conflict is that it wasn't a conflict until Israel was given, or I mean, the Jewish community was given Israel post World War II. Before that, Jews and Muslims lived together for thousands of years perfectly fine with very, very little conflict. You know, the Ottoman Empire was a massive empire that was, you know, populated by both Jews and Muslims. So what is it so specific about this conflict that we're not identifying as the cause? That's
U.S. aid. By the way, I'm staying late. I have to run because I'm getting a call. But I appreciate it.
You are.
Yes.
It's good to see you again, Paul.
Good to see you. Yes.
Happy to see you
Hit me up
Friday.
on Discord. We'll catch up.
Yes. All right. Godspeed, guys. Peace.
Take care.
Take care.
So to continue, you know, my concern is this is I don't give a shit whether you're Palestinian or you're Jewish. What I care about is the fact that innocent people are dying for the indiscretion of old men. That's my problem.
That's always been. That's nothing new. Like that's nothing unique about the Israel conflict.
Doesn't mean that we should continue living in that way. It's obviously a detriment to the human society and to the human race if we continue to do this. So, you know, I was asked, you know, who am I rooting for? I'm like, I'm rooting for people who don't kill children. I'm rooting for people who don't bomb hospitals. I'm rooting for people who don't wage warfare on innocent civilians. It's downright low and dirty. That's where I stand on it. How to fix it? I don't know, but PF, you know, he seems like he has a pretty good idea of it, but one way or another, it's got to stop by people who know a lot more about the situation than I do.
I wonder, Mike, you were very aggressive, combative. Like, what exactly about Paul kind of sparked you? Because you were more combative than I've usually seen you.
When it comes to what? Does it specify what? Well, I didn't curse. I didn't raise my voice. Right? What do you mean combative?
No. Just you seem more hard hitting than usual. Maybe it's just a side I rarely see.
No. So Dobez, I tone it down on Jeff's. I tone it down. I could be extremely fiery. You probably haven't seen me on other. Like I can kind of be very passionate, but I having family members that are Jewish, you know, I take a lot of stock in that, and I understand also the plight of Palestinians, but I don't like somebody demeaning one religion and then propping another. We should also look at both sides, but I just felt like it was a one-sided conversation. Does that make sense? I felt like just like a one-sided attack on one person when both parties are doing the same stuff. You know, I think even Jeff agreed, and other people agreed. Both parties are doing egregious things, but don't lambaste one side and then act like the other side is not doing anything wrong. Like when Jeff said, "What about October 6th or whatever, 7th or whatever?" And
only
then
one side did October 7th.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing was
And
is that
only one
Israel,
side is a modern Western democracy.
Israel.
What
I'm
led
sorry,
up to
James.
October 7th?
To answer Dolbez, Israel was toning it down and trying to, not be so overly aggressive. And then all of a sudden, here they come attacking Israelis. So then it's almost like as soon as things die down, things pop off again. But Dolbez, to answer your question, I'm very passionate about Jewish people. I'm very passionate. I'm pro Israel. I'll do that till I die. Jesus Christ is my savior, and he was a Jew. So that's just
King of the Jews.
that's my opinion. All right,
Well,
sorry guys.
my view on the topic, if everyone's sharing their views, is that this is
Yeah.
basically just all Iran's fault. I mean, just a few days after October 7th, there was a planned conference between Iran and Saudi Arabia to basically begin forming an alliance and end the sort of Middle Eastern Cold War. And then just a few days right before, they'd spent years planning this conference and getting ready to a sort of detente. And then right before, boom, a terrorist organization attacks them, Hamas, sparks off the conflict. Saudi Arabia abandons all talks because they are Muslims. They will lose control of the nation if they side with Iran over Palestine. And I know it's not technically Palestine versus Israel, but that's how the rhetoric is. Nobody is vocally supporting only the Gazan people. It's always about the Palestinian people. And I know that, at least from my surroundings, that some people genuinely don't know that the rest of Palestine isn't at war, but that's how they view it. Even people are not Palestinians. It's generally just every single Muslim person I know went from being decently neutral about Middle East because they're not living there to being very against it. I'm sure it's even worse in the Middle East right after a period where Israel was trying to become friends with everyone again. And in the Middle East, you basically have a Cold War situation between Turkey, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. And it's generally stable. Turkey is a bit separated, I suppose. It's a bit isolated from that little Cold War. America has pulled out more and more. So like they all compete for influence. And Iran will, of course, they're going to be scared if their two biggest rivals suddenly start becoming friends. So like, I don't actually know if this is a conspiracy theory or just the truth, and I don't really know, so I won't say it's the legit truth. I'll just say I think it's very, very likely that Iran sparked this to prevent them from basically losing all influence in the Middle East. And so that's more my position, that this is
Like there's
this
the instigator, there's the little guy that's poking everybody, being like, "You should do this. You should do this."
Yeah, exactly. Like we know they are the biggest funders for a lot of Islamic terrorist organizations across the Middle East and beyond, because well, that's the way they primarily do warfare. They haven't done that many aggressive wars. They
They let their
instead,
money talk. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. To be fair, a lot of other countries do that too. America is a
Yes.
prime example, but
Yeah. You know,
which is why I was like, which is it, America or Iran that's the biggest funder for Islamic terrorist groups? I don't know, but it's one of those two, and that's Islam is Islam. Iran is clearly using that to exert its influence in the Muslim world, and yeah, a tool against
think
Israel.
one of the things that concerns me the most is,
Would you call that a
Sorry, go-
proxy war? Is that what a proxy war is, Steve?
yeah.
It's no, because
Well, a
would
proxy
be
war is
two
funded by another
powers
country without
using
direct
another
involvement.
power war. But in this case, one of the powers is in the war. It's like a proxy war would be Vietnam. America and Soviet Union are using a sort of third candidate to do the
Oh,
war.
I see what
Now
you're saying.
one of the candidates is indirectly in the war. So it's like a semi-proxy war because one of the sides is using a proxy, but the other one is not. It's like halfway proxy war.
I think something that a lot of people are concerned about too, and this is where I'm concerned too, is that you have a predominantly Jewish nation surrounded entirely of Muslim countries. And I think after the horrific events of World War II, I think people tend to be a lot more sensitive to the Jewish plight. And so I think a lot of people are supporting Israel just based off of that fact, with very little anything else, going on, or any kind of knowledge, any kind of justified true knowledge, I would
I mean,
say.
Germany is the
And
biggest supporter of Israel in Europe for exactly
yeah,
that
I mean,
reason. They cannot go out supporting Palestine. They blast the Jewish the candle thing, on the Reichstag and on the Arch of Triumph and everything because they have to. They feel guilty, and the sort of whole
yeah,
German cultural spirit is they cannot be anti-Jewish. That's going to be too scary.
right. But my point is, like, so the people who are supporting Israel because of this idea that they've suffered enough in the 20th century, I think what they don't realize is that you can still criticize and you can still judge the actions of Israel based on what they're doing now without having to diminish the history of the Jewish people and why they ended up in Israel in the first place. And I think a lot of people lose that concept. And then on top of that, you have Jewish Zionists that are also stirring the pot just as much, if that makes sense. So I don't know a lot about so the problem is that this is such a complex topic that you could probably create a college level course that would take a year to try and understand every piece of the puzzle that's at play during this conflict, because it's so complicated. It's just absolutely ridiculously complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're
And
getting
that's
it
where,
mediated through social media and what we
well,
see on
you're
YouTube.
right, through news agencies we don't trust, from people that we feel are two-faced and don't represent us or don't represent the topic as it should be. You have very biased news agencies across this planet because they figured out that that's the best way to sell their product, right? So none of us are really getting, or at least I think none of us really feel like we're getting the full story.
I don't
There's not
think any of
one.
us are getting the full story. I don't
Yeah,
think it's up to feels at all. I think we can declare pretty easily we are not getting the full story, and the story we get is, well, it's twisted through some tinted glass.
Well, that's because it is a story, but all of history is like that. It's a selection of facts fit into a story. And I think the Israel situation is no different. We don't have the full story of anything we look at. We're always working with a subset of the facts.
right. Which lends credence to the idea that, I mean, if you don't know what's going on, you should probably shut the fuck up. You know
It,
what I mean? Because like trying to make a decision on a tenth of the information is just, no one would do that with their own money. No one would do that with their home, with their family, with their children, with their retirement. They wouldn't stake everything on 10% of the overall knowledge that they really need, that is required to make a valid decision. But yet we do it all the time with countries like Israel and Palestine. It's ridiculous.
Well, everyone
So,
wants to be involved in global wars. It's everyone wants to have an opinion on the war in Ukraine,
so
in the war in the Middle East, or in the Taiwan-China situation. Everyone wants to have an opinion, and that is their right. But at the same time, it would be beneficial if they were, if you're actually going to publicly have an opinion, because I don't care if you have an uninformed private opinion. That's your thing. But if
sure.
you're going to have a public opinion and speak about it to other people, you should at least stay up to date to it and know a bit of stuff about it.
well,
I
that's
had
what
a
the public square
mentor.
is for. It filters all
Exactly.
right, like the informed ones rise to the top. My bro, what's up? Do you have an informed opinion?
So really
I
quick,
want to
if
know
I can
why you
just
don't
jump.
answer my calls, why you don't respond to my Discord
I hardly
messages.
answer anybody's calls.
You can't even
It's
text me back.
Bro, it took 2 days to text me back.
Like
you
you
didn't text
replace me
me.
with
Back
these
on
two.
the day.
You
He
sent
It,
me
it
a
takes
YouTube link. That's it.
it
What am I
takes
supposed
two
to
men to
respond?
replace me. I can
Huh?
see that I'm replaced.
With
You ignore
what?
my calls. You play video games online. You don't respond to my Discord messages or my texts.
The Discord message I got was you missed a call from. So it wasn't
I
even a
tried to call
message. It
you on
was a missed
Discord too. Yeah,
call. It was a
yeah. I
missed
tried to call
call.
you on Discord.
You're I think you're here trying to instigate.
I'm upset and I'm reacting because you're
Right.
ignoring me.
So
You're
don't
trying to
set me
replace
up
me,
as the bad guy
right?
anymore.
Even your
because
crazy
you're over
little
here stirring the
satanic
pot.
lover is going off the rails. I'm trying to take you abreast of the situation.
I haven't talked to him since the last time he was on my show.
You
like
need
a
to
year
get your
ago.
man in line, and you need to get
Speaking
yourself
of
in line.
narratives, speaking of facts and narratives and stories, you, my friend, are working with your own set of facts. So
You guys
now that
talk-
we got all that out of the way, what's up? Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm going to do the splits in 2025. I'm practicing.
Okay. You.
It's going to be my year.
What are you wearing anyway? Did you make that? Did somebody make that? It looks big on you.
Socks.
No
Oh.
way. No.
Nice.
No.
What is that?
Don't do this to me. Then you wonder
Look, it's
why you got
branded. It's
replaced.
polo. I'm fancy.
I
I
do
got
like the
polo.
polo, but that's about all I like.
I'm
What's
fancy.
on the sock?
Look how sophisticated I am. Polo. Wow, I'm so classy.
What's on the socks? What's that little the image on the
They're
socks?
snowboard
Looks like a
socks.
little-
It's Burton. Burton. It's a mountain.
Oh.
Oh, gotcha.
That's their symbol.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you look like my video game character.
Why don't you stream on Twitch if you're going to play video games?
I should. I think people are telling me to separate the video game from the rest of my channel. So maybe that's
Well, at
an
least
option.
respond to the goddamn comments.
I do when I see them. I can't read comments and play the video game at the same time though. That's
All right, what are you guys talking about? Israel? Really? You're going to get banned for that shit.
We've been talking about a lot of stuff.
We're talking about YouTube. What's happening with YouTube? Everyone's numbers are dropping. The content is flat. It needs new life, new energy. What are you experiencing on your end as a content creator?
I'm lazy. I'm shit. I just do reaction videos because I think I'm clever. I'm not really smart. I can react. I reacted to something the other day. I got 80,000. It's vertical, so it's not really clicks.
What did you react to?
It was I don't know, probably Trump or some shit. I don't know. And then I did like a stream last night. It was just total shit. No one showed up. No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing,
That's kind of what's happening here.
It's embarrassing that my mood varies depending on how many views I get. It's humiliating. I'm like almost 50, and this is where I'm at in life. It's depressing.
Yeah, it's understandable, but I do agree it's not the healthiest thing that could be happening.
I even wore a tie last stream, and I thought I was funny. I thought I was clever. No one gave a shit. There's planes falling out of the sky. What's that about?
Yeah. Probably just coincidence, huh? You think
Coincidence?
there's a conspiracy behind it?
Maybe they're trying to make.
Are you
Maybe the
faking
deep
one
state's
for
trying to make
content?
Trump look bad by purposely blowing up planes.
Hmm.
I mean, I used to think 9/11 truthers were crazy, and now I'm like ready for that conversation.
That's
Yeah.
more on topic than you know.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah, Jeff, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we did talk about 9/11
Is there a
and
chance
Israel
that-
possibly being behind it, if you could believe that.
Exactly.
you're gonna get
Jeez.
banned, bro. You can't talk about your boss.
Oh, it
your
wasn't me.
overlords.
It was
I can't hear you guys. Should I get my headphones?
Yeah,
because you're talking.
No,
Yeah,
I don't talk over you. It's the phone.
Oh well.
Yeah, you should
I
probably
think
Yeah, always use
the
headphones, bro.
stream would say otherwise.
All right, let me get the headphones.
So, those what I was going to say before Bro Logic came in is I had a friend and mentor who taught me something that has stayed with me for well over 10 years, which is everybody has a right to an opinion. That's your right. It doesn't mean you're right, and it doesn't mean that anybody else needs to fucking hear it. Never miss a good opportunity to shut the fuck up. And I have held that close to my chest forever. And so whenever I have an opinion about something, I always tend to ask myself, sure, I can have an opinion, but is it even valid? And second, does everybody else on the fucking planet need to hear it? And third, is this an opportunity for me to shut up and listen and learn something rather than just think that my opinion matters? And I think that's a problem that is translating over to YouTube, and it's getting oversaturated with a lot of, I'm not saying it's bad content. I'm saying content, period. It's just getting saturated with content to the point where there's just an innumerable number of channels that we can go and view something. So it's really hard to get that collective group together to watch your videos. It's very difficult.
What's the solution? Because what I'm trying to offer a place where people can come and get their opinion heard. And if you're saying it's being oversaturated by opinion, what's the next step?
Hyper
Where do you go from there?
hyper specialization. Hyper specialization.
So that
So
would mean
if you
like focusing on only certain opinions and filtering out all the rest.
correct, right, because that's what's going to gain your viewership. Like people don't go to, Joe Rogan to learn about science. So like if you look at his numbers on the podcasts that he has that are science based versus celebrity based, dude, the celebrity based podcasts get significantly more viewership than his science based podcasts do, with the exception of a couple. Right. But if you go to, if you're talking about science and that's all you're talking about, your viewership is going to be more centered around those people and they're going to be more enticed to watch your stuff. It's like it's the same reason why IFL Science used to, like when they first started out on Facebook, it was I fucking love science. But their whole viewership is nothing but science nerds, right? You're not going to find Star Wars nerds on there unless they're really interested in science. You know what I mean? It's like if I started a channel on aerospace, I'm not going to get people who are interested in yoga, right? So I think you have to
Speaking of yoga.
hyper focus on
Well, this
one
started
topic.
as a men's mental health channel, and it was
Right.
much smaller than it got when I opened it up to the world, and it became everything.
Yeah. I
The
mean, Charles
guests pushed it
Ekikotu, who
so many.
runs Critical African Thinkers, his channel is primarily about using reason and logic to understand the world, and he gets a pretty good viewership, and he's got a lot of ties to a lot of different communities, including the Journal of Free Black Thought. He's been published there several times. Wrong Speak. There's a bunch of other different places that he's been connected to because he talks about a wide variety of social topics, but that's his niche, is social topics.
Well, that channel kind of attempts to do that too. But this is more than anything, it's a community hub. So I think when you have
Mm.
something like this, it's going to draw it. You can't get around the diversity. Like
And
it's
Sure.
hard to it's
will
hard
be
to
limited,
specialize a community hub.
and you will be
Mm.
limited in size. Like this model where viewers drop in and say their piece and can leave and have conversation, that is very limited in scope. If you have over 100 viewers, like that, you cannot have the same system. You'll have to actually have a sort of bureaucracy in the back organizing who's going to get on when and plan it out, and it's going to necessarily become different if it grows to that level.
Well,
And
fortunately, it hasn't so far,
yeah,
so I
or
can
I
keep
think
it
that
at.
one of the reasons it hasn't grown to that level is because you haven't taken the adaptations needed to grow it to that level. Like the way it functions right now is a limiter to its potential size and scope, which I prefer this model because I use you more as an alleviation of a need for socialization. When I don't have school, I can just hop in and get my fill. But there's probably someone out there who uses you for different purposes, and so it depends on the person if they would prefer if you grew or not. Like I'd like this size when you can just drop in and speak, but others might
But
want.
you're saying there's something about this format that's keeping it from growing?
Yes, because you cannot. If you have to have more viewers, it needs to be more organized. It needs to be more structured. I would say because you're limited. You'll only have maybe at maximum 5-6 guests which you can coordinate well, and if you want more, you have to. Well, basically, if you really wanted to grow, you would need to look at sort of statistics of your channel and then see which guests give you the most growth and give you
Oh,
the
and
most
only
views.
have on those people and
Not
filter out the
only,
boring ones.
yeah, you figure out like what kinds of guests do they like, take those in, be way more selective in
I
who
have
who
no
you let
idea.
on.
That's
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
But then there's plenty of other panel like the open panel format where they do have the number. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of numbers. So it's not. I don't think it's the open panel format itself that's limiting growth because there are channels that grow successfully doing open panels. It may be the guest, like you're saying.
Yes.
Like I should bump if I bump Barney, we could see what happens with the numbers.
And
Or people were telling me earlier like Joe was boring.
don't take this the wrong way, Jeff, but you are a very distinct individual. And as a host, that you are the person on the panel that will be the biggest impact on sort of the niche the channel can occupy. And well, you're not Joe Rogan. You're not the sort of generalist who will have. Don't take this.
And he does one-on-ones too. He does like guest
but,
interviews.
like, his main ability is that he is such a generalist when it comes to the social sphere that he can have interesting and be conversations and sort of be compatible with a really wide array of people. That simply won't work here, and that is also a limiter.
I think it is though. I think this is a wide array of people. Like
it's a wide array, yes, but it's still a niche. Like it's every single person here on panel seems more similar to each other than just random people outside.
Then that is a specialization. Then that is, if I can figure out what that common thread is, that is the specialty.
Yeah. Well, one of them is at least some courage and social want and ability to be public and such, but that is a common thread on all sort of panels.
Social deviance, social deviation. So.
Yeah. Social. Those.
Well, it's a lot of it's male. It leans male. It leans outsider, misfit, neurodivergent. So it is drawing what I set up the channel to do.
And it
so
does.
I am specializing in the people that fall outside of the other categories.
What's your measure of success, though? Because there's the measurement problem. So if you're looking for a measurement of success, what is that going to be?
Well, there's the subjective measurement, which is like how I feel it's going. And there's the objective, which I guess would be the numbers.
Right.
Subscriber numbers, watch hours, view counts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
Charles, who runs Critical African Thinkers, is a really good friend of mine. And he stated early on, he's like, I don't give a shit how many viewers I have. I'm going to talk about the things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
That's his level of success. That's his definition of success. Can I talk about the things that I want to talk about and have cool guests on occasionally? Yeah. And he's had some really good guests on his show. He's had, a varying degree of celebrities on his show. And I've been able to interview people like, Charles Love and a couple of other individuals. And that's his measure of success. But he's not trying to build the same kind of community that you are. So the definition of success then changes. Right. So what is it that you specifically want? Do you want like a?
I just want more of what it already is. It like by my metrics, by the goals I set out for the channel, it's meeting them. It's just meeting them on a smaller scale than I would like to see.
Gotcha. I don't know what the recipe would be for success in that case, because you're going to have floaters coming in and out, in and out. So you're never going to really have a true understanding of what the composition of your viewership is going to really be.
Well, you would benefit from finding the guest the consistent guest you've had that you are the most compatible with, and you have the most fascinating conversations, and then your co-hosts, and you can sort of bounce between each other, and any third party will naturally benefit from that.
So like start to stratify the guest into different layers. Like this, I could have the audience vote. Like this guest right here, I could have the audience decide, is this something that you want to see on the channel? Do you benefit from having this as content? Or is this something I should deprioritize?
Oh, remember, Jeff, this is a dictatorship. And I have been loyal for all this time. Don't let the people vote me out. Please.
No, there's some people that are untouchable, that are just not even up for debate. But like, there's that middle ground.
Region. I promise. I'll be good.
I know I'd be voted off the island first
No,
chance.
you
but
would not
nobody-
either, Steve. You know you're good. There's people that have a rocking chair with their name on it on the porch that are not going anywhere, and then there's the others,
Okay, I'm glad we're not
like the
in
floaters.
the others.
Yeah.
Am I bad for the channel, Jeff? You can just
Well, I
put
don't.
me
You're
off.
kind of the gray area. I'm trying to figure it out because
Am I
I
bad?
I consider you a regular. Like you've put in your time here and you've invested, but at the same time, you also kind of come and go.
Actually, Jeff, you should maybe, I've said this multiple times, and I know you've done it multiple times. You should just set up a Discord channel, and with only guests, people who have been on the panel, they get an invite there, and sort of you count up how many times they've been there, and you rank it according to that, so you can sort of visually see who are your most frequent guests, and maybe you can tie that into views or something, because you can reuse the rank system on Discord, and you can have channels where only people can speak, and you can think of it like that. Okay, I want at least one of these people because I know they will bring in viewerships, so one of them will be invited, which you can plan beforehand. You know, that, hey guys, I'm gonna have a stream on this and this time, can one of you drop in? Like, that would be nice. And then you use you two, who seemingly work well together, to bring in third parties and such. And if you always invite them to sort of special group, you can have a better view of everyone who's been on your channel and see how they all relate and who is the most frequent one. And you know, if for example you know that, oh, today I'm going to talk about the drama on YouTube, if you post it there, people who are usually not going to get your recommended, they will see it, and they've been previous guests, so maybe you can attract them again. Like, you will, instead of just letting the algorithm attract good guests, have your own server or community where you, well, basically only those interested will be attracted to it, and not just relying on the algorithm. Because as it is right now, for people to see and join your streams, they must get it recommended through the YouTube algorithm, which is
I think a lot of them just have me on their list and they get notifications.
Yeah, but
plus
you
they know I'm at the same time every day too, so it's easy for people.
I suppose.
Yeah, that is a good thing that you got going for you, is that you're consistent with your time.
The consistency. Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
create a
Is that
little
gonna break
point of
soon?
stability within all the chaos that people can, like a port in the storm.
But isn't
Yeah.
that going to break soon, though, Jeff? With the job?
Yes, it will. I'm going to lose some of that consistency as I have to shift it around to accommodate my job schedule.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully that loss of consistency means you're more available when it's beneficial for me, you know, and it's not.
Yeah, because I'll get different. I
Right.
get a certain audience because I stream at this time. I will get a different audience if I stream at other times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because-
like you get me more frequently during like the middle of the day than you do the first or the end. Like on
Yeah.
the weekends. During the week, you're going to get me more frequently at night. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what Dolbs is saying.
I'm still not fully understanding what he's saying about the Discord and guests and stuff like that. I kind of get the point about having a tier of guests, like having this inner core, inner circle.
Yeah, he's
that
talking
form
about
the-
You know what, Jeff? I have the entirety of tomorrow free. If I feel like it tomorrow, I'll wake up and make a sort of demo server, and I can have the tiers ready and the
okay.
tiered channels, and I can try to explain to you what I mean and see if it's gonna work. If I feel up for it, I'm not binding myself to a legal contract.
Yeah, no,
you know?
but
Well, it's all about my feels. But yeah,
that might be helpful because I'm open to. I don't want to lose the organic thing. Like, it's so much of this depends on organic growth too. So I don't want to artificially,
of course,
create
but
something.
Isn't it more? Or I don't think it removes the organic essence of it.
Yeah.
If you have a system to get back guests who have already been there, that just integrates the community more. It doesn't necessarily expand the community because you aren't adding new people, but you're bringing more people in the fold. Like, there's probably, I don't know your actual numbers, but I'd guess that there's maybe at least 10-15% of your guests are one-time people. They only appear one time and then leave. I don't know actually though. And then maybe you have like the top 10%. They are here almost every third or even every
those are the regulars. That's the core.
yeah. And then you have those in the middle who jump in when they find it exciting. It's like I think you should have some back end service to have a feedback loop. People get in, but then as they leave, you also have a mechanism. That's the word.
I guess that's the part I'm not understanding. That I'm open to learning about.
Yeah, if I feel like it tomorrow, I'll spend some time setting it up.
To like trap the guests so that they keep looping back here.
Not trap. But yes,
like the Hotel California, they show up once and they never leave.
Yeah, I think what Dole's trying to say, if I'm hearing him correctly, is that he's trying to figure out a way to either get the old viewers back, and to figure out why they're leaving in the first place. Why are they not coming back? Why are they not being consistent?
And I think
okay. And Barney, you dropped off. I was about to get your thoughts on this. I want your opinion too. So come back.
Is that what you're trying to say, Doles?
Somewhat, yes.
Because I just assumed, like, again, self-determination and intrinsic motivation. I assume the ones that want to come back are coming back, and the ones that are not are doing it for their own reasons.
Jeff, people don't usually have notifications on. Like, that's just a common fact across YouTube. Most people don't have the notifications on, and if they don't, like me, I at least check out almost every single stream you have and decide if I want to join or not. So YouTube always recommends me your stream, so I'm fine. But most people who don't do that, they might not even see that you're streaming, and they might not even know that, oh, you do it consistently at these and these times. But if you have a sort of recapture system back there to bring them back in.
So you're saying that they might not be coming back because they're just not aware. They don't.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my assumption was that people know about me and they either choose to show up or not. But you're saying some of them, I just may not be on their brain all the time. Yeah. So if there's a way to keep reminding them that I'm here,
there's people,
for example,
I subscribe to who I just don't see any recommendations to their videos for half a year, and then suddenly I get one video and they check out the channel and they have posted like 20 videos.
Oh, so I manage my YouTube differently than other people do.
Yep.
Yes,
because I put them on I have a subscription list, and then I open up that list every day to see who's streaming at any given time.
Oh yeah, very few people use the sort of subscribers.
All right, this is helpful because they're doing it a different way. I need to figure out that way and adjust myself to the way that most other people are doing it. I just assume they have me on their list and they see when I'm streaming.
No. It's up to the home screen,
like a
the
follow
main screen that everyone uses. It's based on what YouTube thinks that person will like. And so even if they subscribe to you, if they only watched one stream, that is much less valued than other channels which they watch a lot. And so there is a finite amount of videos they can recommend. You know, they only have like 5 in a
so
in a row.
Okay, this is...
You're competing for space.
The gears are slowly cranking. I'm starting to kind of get it.
Yeah. So I'll try tomorrow to just make a template Discord server that hopefully will have it working.
Okay.
There's also bots.
And I do post, like a lot of times when I go live, I'll post on social media. I'll put it in some Discords. I'll put it on Twitter. Sometimes on Facebook.
The big what I want to do is to ensure that not just viewers see it, but previous guests. Because a lot of your streams, they have a downtime in the beginning. I don't know if downtime is the right word, but like maybe the first 10 minutes, 30 minutes, the most vital moments of the stream usually are empty because you're waiting for people to begin seeing it. And then maybe there's a 10% chance that one of the viewers will join us. You just have to wait until more people are recommended it.
Yeah.
But if you have a system to get in people who are, like factually that they are willing to be guests, if you have a system to bring them back in immediately or even before, like if you post a reminder 30 minutes before you start streaming that I will be streaming and the sort of first topic will be this, and after that we can go on, but like this is the primary topic, then people will be more engaged. You might have that kickstart because the first few minutes are the most important. If YouTube sees that the stream gets no traction in the first 10 minutes, it will not want to recommend it because that's not profitable. Remember, YouTube is a company and it earns money from ads and and it wants to only recommend those videos or streams.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much people were depending on being recommended. I thought they just knew where to find me when they wanted me.
People love the algorithm. That's all they use, because usually it works well for them because they see things that YouTube thinks they like, and most of the time YouTube is correct. But that is not
Barney, what's your input?
I don't even know what the question is. This dude's monopolizing the airtime. He just won't stop talking. I feel like I'm.
Were you listening to
Ikea or
anything when you
something.
were sitting there doing your clowning?
I
No.
wasn't clowning. I'm trying to do the splits in 2025. And
Oh, we're having you're not coming. We're having a hard time hearing you. You sound distant.
is this better?
No.
Nope.
I don't know what it's. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
don't
that's why
just hit
you
me
were.
straight on the head, dude.
Your
Like,
content was so visual.
I would always recommend every time before you go on, like have like your guests ready to go.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
And
How's
then you
that?
share that link on Twitter, which is really important. All your social media.
I don't
just
get anything from
bam,
Twitter.
bam,
I don't
bam,
even
bam,
think
bam.
anyone sees it on Twitter.
I see every 10th post you make.
Can you hear me now?
Post.
Every 10th post? Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What's the question?
What do you think
Just,
about what I'm saying?
Your thoughts on
I think you talk too much. I feel like I'm trapped in IKEA. I don't. You talk so much.
Well,
I
not
just,
so much
stop
thoughts on
paying
yourself,
attention,
but
honestly.
thoughts on the channel
I'm
and
only half
YouTube and
Swedish, not fully Swedish. So only
because
half.
I don't ever know who my guests are. Like unless I set them up in advance, I don't even know who's going to show up on any given day.
Oh, good dog. Yeah.
So is there a question?
No.
No, I just wanted. I thought you were following the conversation, and so I
this
wanted your
Dolbez,
thoughts.
he just keeps talking, and he talks constantly, and now he's talking over me. I can't get anything out.
But
Bro,
if he wasn't
it's
talking, then it
fucking
would be you
distracting.
talking. You would be the one constantly talking. That people would be saying, "This Barney guy keeps talking, and we can't get a word in." So
That's
it's
not
just
true.
fighting for the mic.
That's not true.
Yeah.
I don't overtalk people.
And speaking of Mike, that if you're talking about the guest who consistently brings in actual numbers, it's Mike. Every time the numbers go up. That's
Mike?
the content that
Okay.
like YouTube responds to the most.
Yeah, you're talking about Mike with a big Christian chain, right? Yeah, that Mike.
Like the Mike in the bushes.
Wait, what about me? Do I bring in revenue?
You don't bring in the numbers Mike does. Because I'll tell you why. Mike already has an audience built up across YouTube, and they communicate in Discord. So anytime he's on the channel, they get the word out that Mike is on Jeff's, and they all flock to the channel to harass and troll him.
Who's Mike?
And so my numbers like triple when Mike's on the channel.
Mike is he's the guy who usually sits in his lawn with a big cross on his chest.
I guess he was the one that was on earlier.
Stream.
The one that was harassing PF Young over the Jews.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about like try to figure out which guest people want to see that drive numbers, Mike would be at the top of that list.
Actually, Jeff, a really big thing. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. After you've ended a stream, you go into the description and add the tags of the people who have been on it. Right?
I actually do it as they come on. I put their
wonderful. Because I was going to recommend that, but it's good you already do it because that means like if that channel is big, that will tell the YouTube algorithm to recommend that video. Now, for me, my Dolbez that I'm using has no traction at all, and so it doesn't matter. But if it had an audience, that tag would connect it to that channel, which would then make viewers of that channel get recommended that. So if you tagged just, let's say, PewDiePie, 100 million subs, even though he's not on the channel, it's not connected at all, it will slightly increase the chance that
people tell me that, but I don't notice much of a difference when I do stuff like they talk about hashtags and they talk about tagging, and so I try that stuff, but I don't really notice much of a
your live
difference.
numbers are like.
Oh, Barney, come up! This is the guy I was telling you about. I'm sorry, I totally didn't make the connection. The Faroe Islands. But Dolbez lives in Norway. He knows all about the Faroe Islands. This is the
Wait,
guy
we
you
have
need to
already
talk
had
to.
that talk, I think. I've already been asked about the Faroe
It
Islands and
was
Wales.
me asking, but it was because this is an issue very close to Barney's heart that keeps coming up. That's why I asked.
And I don't understand why you say I talk too much. This is a panel, basically a talk show. And I don't talk over you because you
Barney
weren't
knows how to
here.
fight,
I'm going to
grab the
talk over
mic
you
when
if
he
you
needs
aren't
it.
even on the panel. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Everybody does. Everybody knows my rule for the channel. If you want a voice, you have to grab the mic, and most people do.
My opinions on the Faroe Islands is that it's rightful Norwegian clay, and I'm very angry the Danes took it from us, and I don't actually remember their
But
independence.
the whaling, the fact that they kill the whales.
Oh, well, tradition, you know?
Yeah, but it's race. It's they get harassed by the
Misfits.
environmentalists, but the Eskimos don't. So he feels
Yeah.
like it's because they're white. They're being told that killing whales are wrong, but if you have brown skin and kill whales, then that's part of your culture. But why
Yeah,
is it part of the Faroe Island culture?
well, because this whole ideology that's against those things
Yeah,
isn't against.
that's what I think he's
It's
saying.
against those things inside specific categories, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And I also just remembered that it's a new month. Today's February 1st, so I can release memberships, which I'm about to do.
Wait, am I still a member?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
I don't know if it has restarted. Let's see. Test.
I'm gifting 5 memberships
Yes.
right now. Let's see who
Remember.
gets them. You might be one of them.
I already have one.
Yeah, it looks like you are. You're green.
Yeah, so it has automatically.
Ladybug, Blind, Truth or Cop. We got a few new members. Because also sometimes people show up, they get reminded of the channel when they see a membership. And they're like, oh, I just got a membership to Jeff's channel. Let me go see what's going on over there.
That's actually a really good thing, or something that's good from the YouTube algorithm
Good, I'm
side.
gonna do it again.
Is that I can't go a single day almost without seeing something of you because, okay, right now I talk to you. So this
Barney
day,
just got one.
of course, but when I wake up and I look at my phone, I've gotten a notification that you have tagged me in the description, but that usually waits like 10 hours until I see it. And so I'm reminded of it again.
Hey, Truth or Cop, welcome. I just gifted you a membership. Glad to have you. See, it worked. It brought a new...
Exactly. It does work.
Yeah.
Although, maybe if you're going to optimize it perfectly, you should have waited for a new, fresh stream to get him in the beginning and not the... I actually don't know if this stream is in the mid stages or late stages.
I never know until it winds down. It's very open-ended. That's part of my... I consider it a strength. Maybe for the algorithm it's not, but the open-endedness of it.
Well, as long as you're keeping viewers or keeping viewership numbers, like the algorithm is gonna like it. You know, if you can prove to the algorithm that you can make YouTube money, and by you get frequent donations, memberships, or you get
subs. That's what they care about is subs.
Yeah, they care about anything that brings more traction to the site and makes people buy stuff through their site. Or
I care about panelists. I open up the show, and as long as people show up on the panel to have a conversation, I keep it going. And if it doesn't, then I wrap up the stream and I go do something else. So my metric is, are people showing up to be on the show live and have a conversation?
And I mean, that is a really good metric because you could imagine that only a portion of the audience are going to show up on panel, but the more people are willing to show up on panel, the sort of more engaged the audience is in general. I would
That's
assume.
usually how it works. But sometimes I'll have a panel, like you'll show up and you and I will talk for an hour or two, and I'll have 3 or 4 people watching. But that is less important to me than the fact that you and I get to have a conversation for 2 hours.
We're just too daunting, Jeff. Our conversations are so high level that very few people.
I like high level. High level is one thing that separates my channel from the rest of the panelverse. And Steve is high level too. We've had some good high level conversations. I want this channel is made for intellectuals. I don't want to alienate them.
Yeah. Although that is also a commendable part, is that it's tailored for one type of person, but it's very much open to others. Like, I remember that, I would almost call it a phase. Like, it's akin to your, like, an emo phase, when you had that Lemmy guy, not Lemmy, the guy who was very into Looney Tunes, like, clearly.
Oh, Brandon.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
that was almost a phase. Like, 3, 4, 5 days, he was there constantly, like, everything, and then after that, nothing. Like, it
Well,
almost like
I kind of had to intervene on that.
yeah, but it shows how, like, even though, like, he was very peculiar, let's say nothing other than peculiar.
He was autistic.
Yeah,
That was his
for sure.
special interest. Oh, and look,
Yeah,
we have the
so
lovely
that
Helena,
you still
another
took him in on the channel.
valued regular.
Hello,
Oh.
Elena.
Hello.
Hello.
Did I hear somebody say this is a panel for intellectuals? Since when? Just kidding.
It started out. It started
Just
out that
kidding.
way, and then then the Panelverse found me somehow, and it expanded. Let's say.
Yeah,
But
I've been having tech issues, so I've been gone for a little bit. Yeah, I hate new tech. I hate learning new tech. So I'm having a problem with my phone, and I'm having a problem with my laptop. So yeah, it won't let, when I go on my laptop, I can't appear under this name, which it won't let me switch accounts. I don't know why, but so yeah, lagging in the lagging in appearing on your panel. Yeah, it's very frustrating.
you talking about on your browser, like when you pull up your browser, it won't let you sign into another YouTube account.
Well, it'll say switch accounts, and it'll acknowledge my account under this name. But then when I try to appear in a chat or something, it won't. It'll use my other name. So I don't know why
That's
that's
weird.
happening.
It does
That
that
is
to me
weird.
too. Like some channels I post, or I'll post a comment, and it'll have
Yeah.
my YouTube channel name, and then other ones will just have my name as you see it right there, C-Chart Jordan.
Wait,
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's really frustrating, and I don't know. So yeah, when it won't let me use this name in chats now unless I use my phone. If I use my laptop, that's a different story.
Oh
So
yeah, that would be frustrating.
yeah, and I use the I subscribe to channels, but the thing is, if I'm not near the device, and I don't hear a chime or something, I might not know you're having a live show until I just happen to look into my inbox on YouTube. But yeah, you
see
definitely
what
want
I'm
subs.
talking about,
Yeah, I
Jeff?
guess
See what I'm
people
talking about?
find the channels they watch in different ways, I guess, and people
Yeah,
have their regular channels that they check in on regularly, and then they have their backup channels when there's nothing else to do. I pull up my list on YouTube constantly all day long. I'm pulling up the tab and seeing who's live. It gives me a list of who's live at any given moment.
you mean your subscriptions, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah,
subscriptions.
I do that too. Yeah.
And so that's how I find channels, and that's how I know who's on. I don't really get notifications or chimes or anything like that. I just constantly check. But I do the same thing with Twitter and Facebook. I pull it up throughout the day, and I see what's on the feed at that given moment. Because
Who
that's
hears?
when I'm ready to watch something, is when I pull it up. Hey,
Well,
comrade.
yeah, yeah. Who
But then
here
other
is
people are getting it through notifications.
right?
How else would they be getting the algorithm? Maybe they pull up the YouTube homepage, and the YouTube is just feeding them
Yeah,
a few selected channels at that time.
yeah. That's what happens to me. You guys still use Twitter?
Yeah,
I
Do you like Twitter?
I have Twitter it's a
yeah,
ghost
that's
town.
from Reddit. So
I used to use it all the time, and there's almost Dobez. You said you see like one out of every 10 posts.
yeah, well, I'm guessing it's the same in the reverse too. I don't think you see my
No,
posts that much either.
occasion. How often do you post? I might see like one post a week from you.
And maybe I make a comment a day or every other day,
I
but
don't. I
half of
don't
it
even.
is Norwegian, so
Oh,
obviously you wouldn't get that recommended. And most of what I do that's not Norwegian is just reposts. Like, I don't care for it much. It's just talking and having and
Yeah, I just don't.
watching
There's not
stuff.
a lot of activity on there. I think because people are not getting. Take care, Steve. Let's. I wanna catch up with you too as well. So text me or hit me up on Discord and give me an update. I'm not
Yeah.
joining
Yeah,
Blue Sky.
I
Yeah,
definitely
no,
don't use Facebook anymore.
nobody uses that anymore. Yeah. And I mean,
That's what
Facebook
I
is more
thought.
active
That's
than
what I
Twitter
thought.
lately, which is quite a
is it?
switch because Facebook was the dead one for a while.
Yeah.
And now
I
it's
did.
Twitter. I hardly even look at Twitter anymore because I don't get any posts from any of the people I follow.
At least personally, I was originally really real Reddit guy, but then I sort of just began becoming disgusted at every other post, and it angered me, and I realized, this is not good for my mental health. But at the same time, I was kind of addicted to that kind of content, like in a sort of the downtime of the day when I didn't have anything to do. So I switched to Twitter, and it has been better
Yeah.
for my mental health.
I used to be on Reddit a lot, but they started like wiping certain, threads, the mods,
Oh yeah, that's why I
and
got off of it.
they would just disappear them, scrub them. And you're like, okay, well, I gotta leave this place. Like, I'll go back. It's okay for certain things, but they bombed, they scrubbed all these, threads, and it's like, okay, there's something wrong with the mods. Who are these mods? What's their problem? Um,
Exactly.
they're censoring a lot of people, so that sucks.
That was my experience with it too. That's why I didn't really use
Yeah,
it much in the first place because I kept getting modded for nothing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I have been in YouTube jail for like two
You?
days. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I posted, but I don't know. I irked somebody. They put me in jail for 2 days.
Oh my God! You see? I can't imagine what you would do to get in YouTube jail.
Well, I can get political sometimes,
But
but
we have the
still,
right to be political and share
yeah, I know.
political
Well,
opinions.
I mean, God, yeah, what the hell? Yeah, again, the shadow banning crap. I mean, yeah, maybe I said something somebody didn't like, but yeah, when I was in jail, it was really weird. That box floats on your screen, and it says you're prohibited from posting for 48 hours, and I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, it was.
I have.
That never happened to me before, but yeah,
What did he even do? Like, do you know the reason?
I don't. They don't tell you. They don't tell you. And I'm not going to go and protest it because they don't answer you. They send a
Did you
robot.
get an email at all saying that it happened?
No,
You
no, I
just
got a floating
pulled up
box.
YouTube one day and you noticed that you couldn't chat.
The floating box appeared, and it's like, no, you can't chat for 48 hours because something, something, community, something, something. I can't remember it all now. But
Wow.
yeah. So, and no, they don't tell you. And no, I didn't get an email. Yeah, and so I was like, I'll just wait it out. I know somebody who was like banned for almost a year.
Uh-uh. I mean, I
Now,
wouldn't even bother using the
I
service
mean,
at that point.
if you
yeah,
get 3 strikes, they just permanently delete your channel. So that's also a risk, and that I don't think they are ever removed. So if you have 1 strike and then 10 years later you get 2 more, even if there's a 10-year separation, you'll still just delete your channel.
I thought they dropped off after a certain amount of time.
Did they?
I
Maybe they
think,
do.
well,
I'm not sure.
depending on the strike, but I think they
Oh, yeah.
drop off.
yeah.
Or you can take a little class, like a little training of how to behave and then
Yeah.
get it removed.
Oh, re-education class?
Yeah.
How Maoist. Very Mao.
Very-
Yeah, no thanks.
Luckily, though,
Yeah.
I have never dealt with that, which is definitely not because it restricts me, and more because I don't have any videos. And
Yeah. Well, I say lots of things. I post lots of things. And they don't tell you, so I have no idea. Yeah, but yeah, I'm not going to a re-education camp that teaches me how to behave. Yeah, it's like, no, mods need to be, they need to be more liberal with their, and not as thin-skinned. So, I don't know. But
I don't
yeah,
either. I don't know how the YouTube censorship works. I don't know if it's algorithm
I don't
based
either.
or if it's
It could
humans.
Both.
be a random robot algorithm thing. It could be. And they don't like certain words, maybe.
Well, they have an algorithm that just like briefly scans through every video and every stream post, and if they find any content that disagrees with their content policy, they will take action. And if you're a small streamer, that action is automated. If you're big, they'll have an actual person go through it. But you also can get more active sort of review if viewers, they report stuff. If an individual actually goes and reports, oh, this video it breaches the community guidelines on this and this count, and then that will get reviewed. And
Wait,
Yeah,
what are you
because
saying?
Goes around constantly trying to strike channels, and nothing happened. Like, I
So
guess
you're
they
saying if
review it
they,
and decide it's
well, they
not
can also figure out
without
if
merit.
he lies. Like if someone reports just dozens of videos and not a single one is actually taken down, then YouTube can basically just, oh yeah, that's just a joke. Like that's just a troll. Don't put much weight behind that person. Like, this is an algorithm. You can't just teach it like that. Teach it to figure out the trolls. Like, if every single time he has reported something, nothing happened, then just
Oh,
ignore him.
he lost all his YouTube powers.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, like, it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
If you keep on lying, then in the end, it'll just ignore you, even if it's the truth.
And YouTube probably doesn't tell you every time your channel is reported, only when there's an actual strike.
Oh yeah,
So
for
I have
sure.
no idea how many times people might have tried to report me.
Well, I have never reported you, Jeff, so you're safe from me.
Well,
Maybe I'll
I don't-
report you if
I
you
mean,
ever.
I'd be surprised if I haven't been reported in my
Yeah,
2 years
You've probably
for
been at
all
least
this
once or
madness
twice.
that goes on this channel.
well, I don't know. I do think there's shadow banning going on because some channels, I don't know, their subscribers, the numbers, they don't make any sense sometimes. And I wonder about that too.
Is there a way to tell if you're shadow banned?
I don't know. No, I mean, you just look at your numbers, and then some people, they have a really great channel, but I don't know, their numbers are just way too low. They're just
Yeah.
way too low, and it
Well,
doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah, I feel like the way about
maybe,
this one.
well,
And that means that they're just the algorithm's just not showing it to people.
sure, but I don't know.
I guess I was underestimating how much people were relying on the algorithm in the first place. It's not something I thought I had to pay much attention to.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, I do. But yeah, so I don't. It's crazy.
So if YouTube doesn't feed it to people, then they don't know it's there. And
Yeah.
shadow
Right.
banning is them not feeding it to people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
like
you have to distinguish between, like, you just don't click with the algorithm and the algorithm being purposefully
Yeah.
made to hinder you, because sometimes either you get worse or the niche you occupy just shrinks or moves on. So, like, even if a seemingly good channel suddenly drops in numbers, that could be because that particular niche died down. Like, for example, a while back, I'm sure when the Oppenheimer movie came out, like, all of the sort of nuclear physicist channels that discuss physics and nukes and all that stuff, they saw a giant boom as they have a lot of interest. And so then they keep the same quality, they continue, and suddenly the numbers just drop. That's not because they were shadow banned, that's because the niche shrunk. It moved on. Like, the interest in that is gone. And so, but if you don't have any reason to suspect that a niche has moved on or shrunk and you haven't lowered quality, then maybe you could assume you were shadow banned. Maybe not, but maybe.
No, yeah, I wonder that about Bridget Fetisi. She has a channel, and her numbers are way too low. And she's a comedian, and she's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times, and her numbers are just too low. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know how that's happening.
What's her name? Bridget.
Oh, Bridget Fetisi.
Let's see.
Yeah. And I think she might have 2 channels. One's called Dumpster Fire.
Oh yeah. Wow, she has 85,000 subs. That's
That's
enormous to me.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I don't know. When I look at the numbers, they seem too low. But I don't know.
But maybe the individual view counts.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey there.
Um,
Oh, someone joined. Who joined? Oh, hey, Mike. I
Hey,
like
what's
the
up?
progression.
Oh, welcome
in,
back.
How much
Yeah.
later it is? Because now it's way darker. Do
Isn't that crazy? Look at that.
sit
It's like
out?
the Norwegian, the winter. It's like dark, right? All the time. Don't you have like 6 months of dark, or is that Alaska? is it?
Well, that's only beyond the polar circle.
The northern.
I'm a few miles below.
Well, look above me. There's the northern lights right there. Look, see the northern lights? They're right there. Look at that. I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Helena, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Mike, for asking.
Good to
Yeah.
see you. Italians unite. Let's kick these white people's butts real quick.
Dobez is the only white one up here.
You got a Cajun and a Norwegian up here. What's going on over here?
I don't know.
Guaranteed.
I don't know.
And 2 Sicilians.
Cultural
Yeah,
ensemble.
right. Yeah.
Multiculturalism.
Yo.
This is the real diversity.
If me and Helena wanted a date, one of us would be dead by the end of the night. Sicilians cannot date each other. It's impossible. I'm telling you, we are insane. We can't.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
don't.
what was
Okay,
it? What was
well,
it?
yeah.
Helena, remember the beta fish, the little beta fish you'd got from like the pet? And if you put 2 males or 2 females, they would
Right.
K-word each other. That's what happens with
Yep.
Sicilians. You can't
Oh,
put us in
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
I've
bowl.
seen that. Yeah, the one try.
Yeah.
First, they start to nibble on each other,
Yeah.
and then then it's like total cannibal. It's like,
Ooh.
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's kind of
They
sad.
nibble, they go,
Really.
ooh, like 2 Sicilian beta fish, like they're nibbling, they're like, oh, it tastes like garlic bread.
Well,
Yeah,
how
it's-
do you get more Sicilians? still around.
it's
You steal
difficult,
them outside.
usually by shotgun wedding. Usually there's like a shotgun involved. Usually, no.
I could tell you how I was made. So
Yes.
my dad, he's from northern Italy.
Yeah.
Or his family is from northern Italy. My mother's people, they're from Sicily. So
Mhm.
to them, that's almost like something different, which
Yeah.
technically, genetically, not so much. It just depends on who you were conquered by back in the way days. But yeah,
Mhm.
like and my grandfather, who was Sicilian, he just considered the Italian peninsula the north. He called it the
Yeah.
north.
Yeah, the north.
And so a little different,
Yeah.
but not really. But not really.
It's funny because I have friends that are Genovese and from Milan, Genovese, and from Rome, and they look at us like we're like second citizens, but Sicilians really are the heart of Italy. We're the heart of Italy. It's one of those.
Y'all are
things.
not even Italy, though.
We're-
Technically, Italy claims Sicily.
Yeah, we're
Technically.
Italian, but we're highly mixed with Mediterranean influence. In other words, so Jeff, Northern Italians, if Helena agrees, Northern Italians, Calabrese, Romans can be mixed with German or Swiss. A lot of Switzerland is mixed with the Northern Italians.
Oh yeah.
That's why that's why a lot of Northern Italians are blonde hair and blue eyes. Like you can meet someone 100% Italian, speaking Italian, and they look like like from Sweden. You're like, what the hell? And they're speaking because because they have that Swiss blood. The Swiss are the ones who protect the Pope, the Swiss Guard. So
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know
But then again, you have Sinatra, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Called him
Yeah.
Old Blue Eyes. Okay,
Yeah.
so he was Sicilian, No, it probably means somewhere in his lineage there was like some Norman,
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
some
the
calibrate.
reverse. Like most of Italy
Yeah.
was more European before, for example, the Muslim conquests. Like it
Mhm.
isn't. Okay, yes, the sort of blue eyes, blonde hair was brought down to
Sure,
Italy,
sure.
but that was also a bit of the base. And then the more Middle East was also conquered up into Sicily and southern Italy into the boot. And the
Yeah.
main difference genetically is, I mean, the Lombards, the Germans, or not the Germanics, because they're not Germans. Very big difference, important difference. Like the Lombards or the Ostrogoths, like all of them conquered the entirety of Italy and
Mhm.
spread their genome all the way down. But the big difference is that later on, whilst the North didn't have any more outside conquests, the South did. Conquered by the Byzantines, so brought in a lot of
Yeah.
Greek,
Yeah,
and
they were.
Anatolian, or well, I'll say Eastern Romans to state my opinion, but or the Muslims. The Muslims did
Well, there's a
stay
lot
in
of
Sicily and southern Italy.
randomness.
Spanish.
Yeah, there's a lot of randomness, in the history. So
There is.
yeah, we don't all look exactly the same.
It's funny.
So yeah.
Italians, I think, Helena, Italians are very much like Spanish. We look very different. Like you can, like I said,
Yeah.
just like Italians, you could be 100% Spanish, or 100% from Spain, or 100% Italian, but you could look completely different. Greeks too. Israelis too.
Yeah.
Israelis have a lot of different eye colors and skin tones and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's interesting. But you know what? We're all beautiful. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all beautiful anyway. So
We're
it
all
doesn't matter.
pretty. We're all pretty and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
As they say in the South, Elena, we're purty. We're real purty down here.
Oh,
Jeff, you're looking.
yeah. Oh,
Jeff,
God.
you're looking purty. Jeff's looking purty in his little sweater there. Look at that.
Am I looking pretty? It's cold today.
Yeah,
We
he's
had
looking-
snow on the ground. I have to go out in it later today.
So check this out. So I'll give you the 3-day forecast. So a 4-day. So 4 days ago, it was about 30 degrees. So then the next day, it's like 60. Then the next day, it's like 80. Okay. 30,
Yeah.
60, 80. And then today, it was 78-ish. Now it's like 29. I hate living in Virginia. It's the most ridiculous weather I've ever seen in my life. Go ahead, everybody. Sorry. It's just hot,
But
cold,
isn't it-
hot, cold. It's like dating Helena. It's hot and cold, hot and cold.
Yeah.
How
Okay,
would
that's
you
fair.
know?
That's fair.
Oh, I guess.
She's gonna get me for
That's
that
fair.
one.
I was trying to white knight. Sorry.
No, I'm gonna get
No,
you,
no,
Mike.
Stayed out.
I'm gonna get you, Mike.
Trust me, my joking to Helena is nothing but love. It's all good. It's all good. But no,
It's nerd.
go ahead, Helena. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I'm
cut you
just
off.
gonna let the beta fish do their thing.
Oh,
That's it.
jeez, no. Oh my God. No. Yeah. You know what? I have to. You know what? Now that I think about it, I never dated an Italian or Sicilian.
Hmm.
Maybe
'cause you're
part
still
of me was like, yeah. Well, I am alive. Yeah, so far. Yeah. So maybe I don't know. Part of me is like, no, don't do that. Don't do it. I don't. So yeah, I never have.
You know what's crazy, guys and Helena, guys and lady? Even though I'm very alpha in a lot of aspects of my life, when I'm in a relationship, and actually not dating, but in a relationship, I love giving the reins to a woman that can figure out where we want to go to eat, or take care of a bill that I don't want to deal with, or take care of the kids. Like I like a woman that could step up and be 50-50. Not crazy, not overly bossy or anything like that, but I like a woman that can step in and say, I got this. Where a lot of guys, a lot of Italian guys, like they have to run everything.
Oh, they would get threatened by that?
Not threatened. It's like machismo. Like a lot of the Latins have the machismo where they have to run every single aspect of their life. That's exhausting. It's nice for your mate, for your woman, to be able to step in and take care of something for you.
I like competency. If anybody's competent at something and they want to step up and take care of it. I will get out of the way.
But
Yeah,
so
I
so
do need an IT guy though. Yeah. So
my
You need a
friends,
yeah,
what?
it's somebody who's good at IT. It's like, could you just do this for me
Oh,
so I don't have to
fix the
think about it?
machines.
Yeah, would you just do this? I don't want to
yeah.
think about this. But I hate tech. So
I'm tech illiterate. I have to call one of my kids. They're like, "Oh, Dad, do this," blah, 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 blah. And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, thanks." Like I can't.
yeah,
I'm like, I'm like a moron hitting the keyboard with one finger. Boop, 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 boop. Some people are technologically advanced. Some people aren't. But a lot of people that are really good at tech don't have the social skills that other people have. Does that
Tell me
make sense?
about it.
They're
Yeah,
more
I'm in
yeah,
a
I know
techy.
what you
fortunate
mean.
state.
You know,
Yeah, I
see
know what you
me,
mean.
I can talk to anybody and strike up a conversation. I can close people. I can sell them whatever, but I'm not good at the computer. Like when it comes to put the order in, I have to get someone else to put it in for me because I don't know what's going on. So
Okay. Well,
I
I'm
think it's a
not.
different. Go ahead.
No, I know how to use it. It's just that when there's a
Yeah.
problem, I worked at places where, oh, well, you call the IT guy, they come
Yeah.
down, they fix it, and it's but I know how to use it pretty well. I
Sure.
always did. But when there's a special problem, it's like, oh, for the love of God, would somebody else take care of this so I could just
Exactly.
work? Um, yeah, so that's how I am. And
So Helena, do you think you have a hyperactive mind where you kind of like you move at a pace that's quicker than most people?
Kind of. When I wake up in the morning, I just get flooded. I get
Yeah.
flooded with these
Yeah.
thoughts. I don't know. When I'm in a good state, I don't know. I don't know if it's hyperactive. Maybe it is. I never thought about it that way. But yeah,
Yeah. So,
if I'm being negative, that's a really bad thing for me because all these negative thoughts will come in, and it just like messes me up.
Oh, the thoughts you're flooded with are mostly negative.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah,
that
that
could
would
be. But Jeff, that could be a prelude for growth. In other words, if you're reviewing bad decisions or maybe bad outcomes, maybe you're reviewing them to change it in the future.
But is it spontaneous? Like you're just flooded with them, or are you like in
Spontaneous?
reflection mode where you're trying to analyze
Well, I always
problems
reflect.
in your life?
I always reflect, but sometimes what happens is you just get caught up in the worrying, and then you don't actually get anything solved.
Yeah,
You guys know what that is. It's called
I do.
anxiety.
Usually I try to filter that out. Like
Well,
if it's just a like a negative spiral that starts up for no reason, I usually try to get it
oh
filtered
yeah,
out or ignore it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what do you do?
Usually I try to ignore it.
Oh,
Like I know
that
part of
sounds
it. I know
nice.
what's happening. I know how to recognize it when that's what's happening, and then I can tell myself that that's what it is, and then just ignore it. So I don't play into it. I don't start feeding into the thoughts and engaging with them. I kind of let them
Hmm.
play in the background.
Yeah.
So I could
You
focus
know,
on something else. I can watch a movie. I could talk to a friend. I can hop online. I can do something to give my brain another option besides playing into that vortex of negative thoughts.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm
But
kind of
then
bad at
sometimes
that.
they sneak up on you where you start to take them seriously, and you think you're doing actual reflection, and you think
Well,
you're looking at
there's
your life realistically, and
yeah. Sometimes that it's easy to get those two mixed up: reflection and introspection, and just indulging in the negativity. Those are easy to get mixed up.
yeah.
So I have a problem with that.
Especially if it's your norm, because when the negative stuff happens to be like that storm kind of, it's not my norm. So when it happens, I can recognize it right away. Like, okay, this is not normal. This thing that's happened. But if it's your norm, if it's happening every day you wake up,
Hmm.
separating that out from when you're actively introspecting
Yeah,
seems
I
seems
guess
to be
so.
it would be important.
Also,
it's
it's
kind of
bad
like
to
that
be a
old.
Scorpio.
Yeah, I'm a Leo. To imagine what I go through, I'm mad all the time. You
And
know,
Helena, I used to be more like you, where it was a constant.
yeah.
I think I just learned over time to pull myself out of that and keep it at bay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I always try that. It
Because
does
I
get the
think I
best of
like
me.
to be realistic, so I think I get being realistic confused with being the most negative. If you're looking at something and you're seeing all the negatives, it's easy to think that you're looking at it realistically and not deluding yourself by
Yeah,
false
well,
optimism. But
people
sometimes there's like a false pessimism too that can
Yeah.
cloud the realism.
And
Mm.
also, I think that's just how a lot of people tend to view being realistic as just being cynic, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, if you're cynical, you're realistic. But that's not always true. But that's sort of
Mm.
the
Yeah.
common, you could say, archetype of the realist is a cynic.
Yeah, you're idealizing and you're separating out all the illusions from what's real, but in the process some negative illusions can creep in.
It's funny,
Yeah.
Dolbez, right before Dolbez said that, I knew what he was thinking. I knew that he was going to say there's a big difference between a realist and a cynic. There's a big difference because the two, a realist is going to realize what's going on with them and almost sympathize with people. But what a cynic is going to basically make fun of you and put you down. You know, it's almost like what'd you say, Jeff? A masochist? You know, someone who gets pleasure out of someone else's pain.
Oh, that's the same. But it's the same thing, really.
Yeah, and just, you know, but you're
Sadomasochism.
right. Yeah, but there are people that will try to be, you know, will try to elevate themselves over you to hide their own pain. I think that's a point. But you
Yeah,
know,
not only
as we get
that,
older, go ahead.
well, not only that, the people, like, when you indulge in the negativity, it's almost like a form of self-harm. It's, it's almost like self-harm. It's like you can't stop doing it. It's not good for you, but you keep doing it.
it's addictive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
does
It
have
seems
an
very
allure.
real in the moment. It
And
seems
Yeah.
like
also
an
because
accurate picture of reality.
it seems beneficial. You know, oh, I'm thinking about all the problems. I'm getting ready to face the real world. You know, what if that actually happens? So it's good I'm thinking about it now. It's good I'm going through all these negative scenarios because you know you can lie to yourself a lot. There is a
Most of
very
the time,
addictive
it's all
component to
that's the
negativity.
subjectivity of it.
Right.
True, and the one thing I've learned about this YouTube experience is that the one thing I've learned, it's a lot of psychological things that go on. A lot of people on these platforms, they have mental illness or they're going through a crisis of some kind, whether it's divorce or mental illness or maybe separation from family. Something's going on. And what they do is instead of fixing themselves or maybe educating other people to what they're going through and sympathizing with it, they attack others to alleviate their own pain and their own misery. I've seen people attack people for the smallest thing they said or did, like this little small mistake they did, this silly thing they said, and they will attack them mercilessly. And the person attacking them has said 10 times worse things, but that's forgiven. It's like
Yeah.
it's like little hate parties. And it's because, and Jeff, you tell me if you agree, it's because when they attack others, they take the focus off themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could. That could be one of. That could be some of it.
Yeah.
I think I agree in general. They're unhealthy people or less
Yeah.
less developed. They have poor coping. If they are in crisis and this is how they're handling their mental health coping, they have
Yeah.
very underdeveloped coping skills.
Sure.
Hmm.
And I'm very open. I've said this many times, and I've said this recently. I've made so many mistakes on YouTube. I've let my own pain, my own failures, my own aggressions out on other people. I've made those mistakes, but I'll own them. I'll own them and I'll apologize for them. But other people will never do that. They'll never own their stuff. You know, because these platforms, not this channel, because this channel is very different than other channels. That's why I come here. I'm not saying this to kiss your tail, Jeff. I come here for a reason. I come here for a refuge. I come here to talk to good people. But a lot of the other, a refuge, you know, but you come here and you just talk and you hang out. But a lot of these other places, it's just fight. Jerry. That's all it
Because
is. And it's like,
Mike, you know as well as I, that drives numbers. People they monetize, they
Yeah.
profit from it.
Sure.
They get view hours, they get subscribers, the numbers go up. The algorithm loves that fight. They love the fighting and the drama. It's conflict content. Any kind of content that gets your limbic system going. Social media has demonstrated this over and over. Is going to drive engagement.
Well,
Definitely. No, I
they're
agree.
probably also, yeah, they're probably also getting a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Well, some people are.
And
You know, it's like,
when you
ooh, yeah.
when you dive into their backgrounds and what they've been through and what they've done, you're like, yikes. Like these are, I'm not saying everybody. There are some fun panels that just have discourse, but there are other people that have done egregious things in life. And they have no right to be talking about anybody else. I'm saying those people that have done egregious things. But they'll judge someone else when they're not looking at themselves. I think inner reflection, Jeff, is the most important thing for growth. You have to look at yourself and heal yourself before you can go forward. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all cool like Helena behind her cloudy thing there. She's actually on camera. There's just like a bunch of like fog, like where she's at. She's probably in London or something. There's all fog everywhere and stuff like that.
Yes, I'm in London. I'm solving a mystery here.
Yeah. Helena Holmes. You're Sherlock. You're Sherlock's niece. But yeah. What else, Jeff? Jeff, did you see the second plane that crashed? Did everybody see the second plane that crashed? And
I heard about it. Was that in Philly?
Yeah.
I heard
it went straight down like a rocket and it blew up. And then it actually K-worded somebody on the ground. It hit a car. And somebody was in a car and K-worded the person in a car.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a medical transport plane. Did you know that? It was a medical transport jet. And I think all 6 people passed away, and then the person on the ground passed away because they hit a car. But if you watch the video, it looks like a missile hitting the ground. It
did look like that. It looked exactly like that.
It was hairy, man. It went straight down. It was a fireball, just like a missile would hit. And unfortunately, and then one of the people
did it crash into something, or was it like spontaneous?
They're not saying, but it went straight down like a rocket, which means the turbines are at full force. So I don't know how the heck it could have happened, but it didn't. It didn't glide in, where it does like a rough landing where it hits the ground and breaks apart. I mean, understandable. That's terrible as well. But this went straight down like a rocket, and it just blew up on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so and it was a pediatric patient's life care flight. That's what they said. So it was like a little private jet, but it was transporting medical professionals, and then I guess a patient was on board. So like a life flight.
I think the other crash, I could be mistaken. The other crash, I think they at least had 40 survivors, at least.
Both crashes have zero.
About that.
Zero. The DC crash 67 K-worded 67. So
okay.
Three Army.
Sure
yeah, 3 Army on the helicopter, and then 64 on the plane. All K-worded, all gone. They're all gone.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really sad, but it's strange to have 2 in this, like 2 back to back. It's strange. But,
yeah.
They're investigating it, but hopefully they're all in a better place than this. It's terrible. It's really sad. It really is. And I live right by multiple military bases, and there's been 1 crash in 30 something years. So there's been a lot of crashes lately. It really has been. So hopefully they can figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that happy note.
I think they left us.
Huh? No. I'm just working on the background for a project for Jeff.
A project.
But if the topic becomes something I'm partial to, then of course I'll.
So something Viking Yeah, so something Viking or something Norway, right?
No, I am a nationalist, but I can appreciate other countries too.
Or something about like pickled herring or something like that. Is that what you guys eat? Like pickled herring or something like that?
Wait, actually, what fish is herring?
I don't
Let's see,
know.
what is that in
It's a fish.
in the region?
Oh, so you know
I
what?
know
You know what So you know what lutefisk is, right? Dolbez lutefisk.
Yeah, I know what lutefisk.
Yeah.
Lutefisk.
Yeah. You guys eat that, right? That cured.
Well, you guys. Well,
Yeah.
we
You
can
Norwegians. Yeah.
we can eat it. Wait,
Oh yeah.
why is
Huh.
huh,
So, in
apparently
other words,
herring has no article in Norwegian. Apparently it's
Hmm.
not important. What? No, neither in
Was it
Swedish. What?
Iceland? Iceland did the fermented shark, I think. The
Oh
fermented
yeah.
shark.
Well, the Icelandic are kind of. They're what happens if you take Norse people, put them on an island, and then say no more of you. So any growth in population has to be through incest. You're welcome. Like every single person there comes from the same original group. They're just Vikings on incest.
So you're saying, so Dolbez, they're like well-educated hillbillies. They're like educated
okay.
hillbillies.
You want to know a fun fact? The biggest dating app in Iceland has specific features to make sure the person you're dating isn't too much related to you. There is an incest protector on their
gross, dude.
dating apps.
It's called family.com.
oh,
Dude, that is gross. That is gross, bro.
All
Dude,
I
you
heard
guys-
was
you're-
fermented
you're-
shark.
It's pretty
reminding
bad,
me-
Dolbez, when your first question to your date is, "Are we related?" that's not a good way to start
Oh,
the
hey, Bex.
conversation.
Ah,
Go ahead,
Sil.
Elaine. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. I love Sil.
Well,
Sil is really good, especially in mustard. Like if it's pickled in mustard, that's the best type of Sil. Or
Yeah,
herring.
We'll see
Oh,
what
boy.
this content does for the algorithm.
You eat some weird food, dude. You eat some weird food, man. Oh, yeah.
Only for midsummer. That's the traditional Swedish dish for midsummer. You have potatoes and you have various pickled herrings. That's traditional
like
midsummer
fries in a
dish.
bag.
You know, if you want to have that patriotic, the Viking. Okay, Viking, Norse, Swedish. It's a bit too late to call it a Viking tradition, but it's still a Scandinavian tradition. So still patriotic at that. And it's really good. It's delicious, in fact.
Wild.
And speaking of Viking, Sean wants to know who your little avatar image is.
This guy?
That's his dad.
That's that fairy tale creature, right?
Yeah, it's it's
lady.
a creature from. Well, this is a satirical meme. They took a Japanese propaganda poster or something and replaced
I
it
thought
with
so.
a
I
creature
thought so.
from Astrid Lindgren, one of the most famous Swedish authors, and her story Ronja Rövardotter, or Robber's Daughter. They're actually making a Netflix adaptation of it right now, which I'm not
For American?
excited about because the original movie was already perfection. But yeah, that little creature is basically socially awkward little hobgoblins, little trolls that just repeatedly saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What do you do with that? Why do you do that?" In a very peculiar voice, and they're tiny and they're kind of cute, and they're called ass trolls.
What trolls? Say it again.
Ass trolls.
I think
Ass
I heard
trolls?
of that.
Yes.
Yes, I think I heard of that.
Yeah. But that story is actually genuinely really good. I love that movie.
That's great.
One of my favorite movies. Like a childhood movie, but I rewatched it like this Christmas with my sibling, with my sister. Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you remember?
It's still really good. So
Do you
I
remember
recommend
the old?
everyone to watch it.
Do you remember the old movies Leprechaun? Remember Leprechaun, where the little
The horror show,
Leprechaun?
the scary,
Yeah, the horror movies
with
Leprechaun. It
that
was like
stupid
1,
little
2, and
creature.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like running around. I want me gold. I want me gold. He's like running around.
Yeah.
Yo, the first Leprechaun. I'll give you some movie facts. I'm a movie guy. The first Leprechaun, it was Jennifer Aniston's first movie. Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
She was in Leprechaun.
Yeah.
The first Leprechaun. Yeah, that's like
I
that's like the
remember
love
that.
of my life. I love
In that
Jennifer. I
movie,
love
Jennifer
Oh.
was felt up by the leprechaun.
yeah, yeah.
He was hiding
And then
under the car, and he was touching her leg, and she
Yeah.
thought it was like the dude. And yeah, so I remember that.
Sorry to backtrack,
was-
Mike, but I looked up the statistics. So currently, Iceland has a population of like 350,000. The original
Yeah.
population was 8,000.
Wow.
8,000.
They've been-
300,000.
They've
With,
been busy. They've been busy.
They've been very busy, and it's.
Do you guys think that America is going to buy? Is it Antarctica that Trump's trying to buy? What is it?
Greenland.
Antarctica?
Greenland?
Greenland. I'm sorry, Antarctica. I don't know why I'm thinking about that. We already have Antarctica's already America, right? We already have that, right? Don't we own that? I'm trying to remember.
Norway has a larger piece of Antarctica than
Oh
America.
wow, that's so cool. I have a crescent moon and the northern stars right next to it. Holy crap, that's so cool. Let me see if I
Yeah,
can
that's-
capture it.
That's
That is so cool. Hold on. Oh,
America doesn't even have land.
Can you see
on
that?
Antarctica.
Look.
Yeah, we can see. That's awesome.
that's the
Uh-huh.
crescent moon next to the North Star. I've never seen that before. It is so wild.
Oh, wait,
Sorry.
hang on. Let me see. How was it? That's the North Star?
I think it's a North Star. It's a northern star. It's the brightest. It's right next to the crescent moon. Look at that.
Or is it a planet?
Have you seen the moon like right next to a star before? I
It
haven't.
could, maybe it's a
Days
planet.
ago or weeks
Could
ago.
be.
I saw the same thing.
Could be Dolbez flying around up there on his little cape, little
Stop.
Norwegian cape up there.
Transmitting to us from space.
Yeah,
What-
I'm
what if-
flying
what
on
if
my
man-
reindeers.
Yeah. So
But
I told Dolbez.
know.
I told you this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elena. I don't want to cut you off.
Jeff, isn't New Orleans the crescent city?
It is.
And the
Mm.
cops wear a crescent moon on their.
I'm
did you-
not sure, actually. I haven't I haven't run into a lot of New Orleans cops. It seems like
And
I
the
should
crescent
have.
moon is Islam. That's the Islamic side. Is the
Well,
crescent.
Well,
I'm looking it up
in New
now.
Orleans, I know what they call it the crescent state. It's the way the land is.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
goes. It's built along the river and it forms a curve, so they call it the Crescent
Yeah.
City.
And hence all the
Elena, that's where we
mausoleums.
That's where we come from. The first Sicilians were in New Orleans. You know that, right?
I
the
do
first-
know
That's
that.
where the
Yeah.
mob started.
Mm-hmm. That's
Well,
where we
they killed
started.
a couple.
I
They
guarantee.
killed a
That's
couple of
why.
us there.
Yeah. See, Jeff thinks he's French this whole time, but he's actually Sicilian. He has no idea he is Italian this whole time.
I don't.
No,
I don't think I
I
have
think
any.
Jeff
I
and
have
I-
very little Italian, if any. My brother did the 23andMe thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I know that. I think at one point, Jeff, weren't we talking about the muffalata
Yeah.
sandwich? Yeah. So yeah, that's from the people, from Sicily and Italy who tried
Yeah,
to
it was this
immigrate
one
to
guy
Louisiana.
That owned
Yeah,
this
and they were
grocery
trying to
store.
recreate. Yeah, they were trying to recreate antipasta, but between two slices of bread.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
To make it easier for the workmen to eat.
yeah, on their lunch break.
Same with the
Yeah.
po' boys. It was the po' boy sandwich was a way to feed a lot of workmen easily
Yeah.
and cheaply.
Mm-hmm. But I have to go. I'm gonna go do my hair. So
Okay. This sounds like
Goodbye.
a good reason.
Get all fancy.
Bye.
Take care.
yeah, bye, boys. And Mike, I would never cannibalize you. Okay? Like two fishes. No. All right. All right.
Take
Have
care.
a good night
I hope
or
you-
day.
I hope your hair does.
Goodness gracious. Elena and Mike forever. Whee!
Forever. Forever, man.
Forever, ever, forever, ever. Sounds good.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Get your hair
pal.
done and look all fancy for your man. Look all fancy for your man. Real mans.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
I'll talk to
bye.
you. All right.
Okay.
See, me and
Well,
Helena get along great. We're
yeah,
two
yeah.
crazy Italians.
I would
Yeah.
never have put the two of you together, but you're right. You do have
Yeah.
good rapport between you. So you're
Well,
just
the
a
thing is
bunch of
that
lights right now, and Dolbez is still a troll. Oh, there he is. Well,
I wish you could see this in person, dude. The moon with the star looks beautiful. Like I wish you could see it. It's beautiful. Like you could see the outline of the moon, and it's just the perfect crescent, and then with the star right next to it, it looks beautiful, man. So it's just, I mean, it doesn't do any justice looking from here, but if you could see it like in person, like it's beautiful. It really is. I've never seen a star right next to the moon like that. I've never seen that.
it's
But
Venus. I'm looking at it now.
is it?
Yeah,
Isn't that the love god?
goddess. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
Feb. This is the moon,
Yeah.
and they have
It's
Venus.
right next to it.
And the
That's
planet, is it
Venus.
twinkling? Because it shouldn't be twinkling.
I don't see it twinkling.
Yeah, that's probably Venus.
But the moon looks beautiful. It's like the perfect crescent. Perfect crescent.
I know what you mean. I've seen it similarly, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. It could be a sign. I mean, do you guys believe in astrology? Like, does it like tell you something, like with the sun, the moon, the stars?
I used
My,
to. I
my
don't
belief,
now, although every time I have my chart read, they seem to know an awful lot
Yeah.
about me.
my belief in astrology is that the categories themselves might have some water to them, but the arbitrary assigning of those categories to celestial movements has no water. There's nothing to it. I don't care about that part, but the idea of a sort of primitive typology, as a psychologist or a student of psychology, I am partial to typologies from history, even though they might be inferior to modern ones. But the idea of splitting people into types, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I don't think it's related that much to celestial movements. Something can be, like for example, if your first or most formative months are during the summer or during the winter, that will for sure have an impact on you. Maybe not as much today in the modern world where the inner environment, the houses, everything is kind of similar, but back in the day that would definitely have a really big effect. And so I think some form of general split, depending on which season your formative months, like your first months were in, will have an impact. But
Sure.
it's not straightforward at all, and I don't think it has anything to do with the stars themselves, but more that these star patterns are these levels during this time of year, but it's more so the time of year that decides things, you can say.
I don't
You know what's
even know
amazing
that.
though? It's amazing that, and this is so simplistic to say, but it's amazing that I'm looking at the moon and the star, and say Jeff is, and we are across the country from each other, and we're looking at the same exact thing in the same, we're on the same street,
Yeah.
So it is. It's fascinating. It really is, and I think that when we see like things like suns, stars, moon, and just everything, it's like it just shows how little we are
The
in the whole
story of the night
experience of
sky still
life.
unites us all. We all
That's
share
it.
that one
And I
common
know it sounds
story.
silly and it sounds childish, but it's just like
Space.
it shows us that we're an ant in the ant farm. We think that we're so big and bad, but we're not. We're just this little cog in the wheel. That's all we are, So, but I appreciate nature and things like that. I know Jeff used to hike all the time. I run all the time. We have a big lake. I run around the lake. It's funny because I'll run around the lake and I have to bring bread with me because I have to feed the ducks when I go around the lake.
I can see you running and throwing bread.
Yeah, they start. Now I have a little bag and I'll throw bread out and run. But it's funny, man, dude. The animals, the ducks they'll chase me. They go, and they start chasing you down the street. You gotta throw bread out to like throw them off.
If the algorithm doesn't get a boost from this,
I'm telling you, man, the ducks
it's
love
broken.
me. I'm telling you, the ducks love me, man. And it's funny because all these crazy stories that I tell are actually true. My life is crazy. But
Oh, I believe it only
yeah.
because of my own life. Yes. When people tell me their
Yeah,
life is
it's
crazy, I believe it.
when I told people, like, I told the story one time where I had this duck, right? This duck used to knock on my door. No, he didn't. Yeah, he did. He would hit his beak on my door. Like, animals are not dumb. Like, they're smart because he wanted me to throw bread outside.
They
Because
know
when
how
you
to get
feed
the
the
food.
animals,
Yeah, they're not when it
yeah.
comes to
But he would come
getting
to the
their
door and
dinner.
be like he's like, "Hey man, what's up? Like, let's hang." Like it was like the duck was like a dude. Like he was just like hanging out with you, you know.
Dude was like,
What's up, man?
dude looks like
Yeah,
a
sorry, my
duck.
neighbor. Yeah, but it was just cool, man. Animals are so cool. And we have the hawks. We have the Cooper hawks. So we have to we put the feeders out, and if a hawk gets hungry enough, it'll attack other birds. You know, that's funky. You know, so the hawks got to eat, I guess. And the hawks will sit in the tree and they'll just wait and they'll perch up in the tree. This is a hawk. It's not like a pigeon. This is like an actual hawk. We probably don't have hawks in where you're at, Dolbez, but these things are
The
no joke.
Norwegian hawk, the snow hawk.
Norwegian hawks. Yeah, they eat snow. They eat snowballs. But
Yeah,
Dolbez. One thing I can tell you is we got a French MRE. We got a French, because me and my son got into the whole MREs, the military ready to eats, and we would get the Italian ones, the French ones, the British ones. We got a French one. It had reindeer. It had reindeer and cranberry sauce. That was the MRE. So me and my son have actually eaten reindeer. It tasted good. It was good.
yeah, reindeer tastes good.
Yeah.
Actually, reindeer tacos are the best when you grind
Yeah.
up the reindeer and elk meat and you use it
Yeah.
for tacos. That's delicious. I've
Go
had it
for
once on my own, but also as a guest at not at a friend's house, but at my I suppose it's a friend's house, but my parents' friend's house. They invited us over for dinner when I was younger, and they had a big ass taco. You know, they had
Yeah.
all the different things and topics and everything. And there's elk meat, like they hunt themselves and grind up. Like that was delicious.
Did they have guacamole? Do y'all get that in Norway?
Oh yeah, sure. Probably made it yourself. You know, just buy a few avocados and do whatever it is you do to make that. I don't
That's
know the process.
That's my son's favorite. My son's favorite is elk. My son's now we don't have elk here, of course, in Virginia, so we get it from the butcher. Like we'll get elk meat, and it's basically just like it's ground. It's almost like hamburger. So we make burgers with it. But shit, if you guys were here in Virginia, I would take both of you guys. We go to Carolina. We'd get a deer. We'd get not a reindeer.
Can I have the antlers? Save the antlers.
Of course.
For me.
Dude, you had put the whole head on, like just put the whole reindeer head. I'm sorry, the deer head on.
Maybe that's the new content that I need.
Dude, you'd be straight True Detective with the reindeer head, with the head. I can't even talk right now. Sorry, I'm tired. With the antlers on. I gotta get some sleep, man. I'm tired, man.
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up anyway because I got to run out before it gets too dark.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, it's cold out here, man. It's dropped down in the 30s now. It's cold, so I'm gonna go back inside.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I can't
I'm
believe you were
homeless.
out here the whole time in the cold.
Halfway. I was half inside, half outside. Yeah, half inside, half outside. But yeah, I'm homeless, so I don't have a home. So
right,
what it
living
is.
in the bushes, looking at the moon. Everyone, go look at the moon. We can all bond.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm homeless. Here's my house. Yeah, I don't have anywhere to live. But
that's nice. You have a nice door for a homeless person.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Everything.
I got a nice house. Yeah. But I will definitely talk to you guys later. And Dolbez, leave the reindeer alone. Okay.
I can't promise anything. I cannot promise anything.
But Jeff, I'll definitely talk to you. Thanks for having me up. I'll see you guys later. And I know Helena's probably listening. She's the best. So. Yeah, we have a good little crew. Like
I like it. You know, who cares what the algorithms do it? This is worth it to me to keep going.
And Barney, if you're listening, eat your heart out. I'm sorry that we have our little group here.
Barney, come up next time. Dolbez is not up here running his mouth. Come up and you can dominate the conversation.
Anybody you want me to ramrod, just throw me on panel, Jeff, and I'll overtalk anybody you want.
Ooh, wow, yikes!
All right, but you have to admit we have fun. We have a good time.
I wouldn't do it if I wasn't.
All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. talk bad about me as soon as I leave, okay? All right. Talk to you guys later. I'll see you later. All right.
Okay, I'll also leave now, Jeff, because it's 1 a.m. So.
Oh, yikes. Okay. Well, thank you for spending your, was it Saturday there? Saturday evening with us.
Yeah, well, 1 hour of my Sunday.
Right, yeah. So,
So I've spent.
yeah, it was like a little reunion. We got Paul stopped by, and it was like old times.
Yeah. Well, that's the first time I've caught Paul actually on stream. Not that we actually talked at all, really. But I remember last time, like, I think I left the stream, and then like 10 minutes later, I saw that he was on, and it was sort of already too late to rejoin again. But yeah, now I actually caught him. But yeah, I'm gonna head out now.
Okay, have a good night, and we'll see you again. Thanks. Okay, that's it for me. I'll probably be out playing that game, even though it might be dropping the numbers. I don't care. I don't do this for numbers. I do this for community. I do this for this. I do this for what's happening on the stream today. I do this for the enjoyment I get out of playing the video game and the few people that are riding along for the story. So this is my channel. This is for me to do what I want with, and it's meeting the goals that I set for it, and it's accomplishing the purpose that I started it for. So if there's a way to get the numbers up and help it to grow and monetize and all that, well and good. But if not, it's still well within my own personal mission for it. So yes, exactly. I have fun. But I also agree with the people that say we need to freshen it up a little bit. We need some novelty. We need a little bit of good chaos. And the idea of structuring, I'm not a structured person. I'm not a planner. But the idea of getting some kind of maybe structure when needed. I need a flexible structure that I can bring in, like a spice. I can grab it off the spice rack when I need it and add a little bit of structure. But this is more like a gumbo. I sit there, I have my roux, my base, and then I have the different ingredients that I throw in that kind of blend and add their flavor. And so we did it. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Next time you're up here, remind me, because we did that movie trivia that day, and that worked out well. We have that word game. So, like I said, it's a gumbo. I provide the pot, I provide the roux, I provide the water, and you guys provide the ingredients and the flavor. And so we can keep experimenting with different ingredients and different types of flavor. And this channel from the start, and you can go back to my earlier streams and hear me say this over and over. This is a collaboration. I show up, I provide the space, but it's very much I want other people to bring their ideas and put them together, and it's what we all do with it together as a group, as a community. It was intended from the start to be a collaboration. So yeah, I like I said, I don't plan to change much. I'm very the challenge for me is going to be when I start working, which is either going to be next week or the week after. Juggling, like my schedule is going to not be able to be as consistent and stable as it can be now, unless I do it really. Even in the morning won't work because there's going to be days where I have to go in early, as early as like probably 6, 7 a.m. And I could potentially work to 10 or 11 at night. So the range of hours that I could work is very broad. So it's going to be very hard to find a time of the day where I can consistently commit to being on stream. So I've come up with a new system. But even that is an opportunity for creativity and growth. So we'll see what happens. I want to reinforce thank you all for being here. I love my audience. I love my regulars. I love the little core of the community. Dobez is helping me set up a system where I can have different tiers of guests. I can have the regulars, the crew, and then I can have another tier of occasional guest, and then I can have another tier of like one-offs that show up once or periodically. And so if I start organizing the guest into different tiers, then I have a way to pull in guests from each tier as I need them. And that might help stabilize and give the stream some structure too. And Provo, I'm still interested in talking to you if you're out there. I know you, I respect the work that you do in this medium, and I know you have a sharp eye and a big mouth with a lot to say. So I'd love to hear from you one day. Moose, I'm still interested in following up on your thoughts. I didn't bump you today. I assumed that that was you backstaging yourself. But you're part of this. I would not do that. So you have space here as much as you want it. And the rest of you, you know you're my favorite audience on YouTube. So take care, everybody. I'm going to go get my errands done. And we'll probably be doing some watch partying in YouTube. And I might be out doing some more of that game later. I'm probably taking tomorrow off other than the game. So I'll be back on Monday for the usual time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your weekend. And again, thanks again. I appreciate you beyond words, apparently, because I can't find any. Take care and keep being yourself and doing you.